Since its inception, the LPL has been known for three things: high-level mechanics, constant fighting, and the ability to never know what is coming next. With that all being said, I don't think anybody could have figured that we would be in this situation still today. The 1-13 Team WE going into the upper bracket final to play up against Top Esports for a shot at MSI. It is the LPL Spring Playoffs here on LPL English, and we are here with our upper finals between WE and TES. Welcome everybody to the broadcast on LPL English. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Rooted for this best of 5. Rooted, it is time to crown the first team into the bracket stage of the mid-season invitational happening later this month.
It is, and what a road that we've taken to get here. This is our double elimination playoff bracket, and you can see that we've had a couple of upsets along the way. BLG and Anyone's Legend both being felled by WE, our 8th seed team coming into the playoffs, and this is after they had a gruesome 5-game series versus LNG to even be here in the playoffs proper. But WE have done that. They've taken those steps. They've taken down BLG. They've taken down AL and find themselves now with a chance at making it to an international event for the first time in many years here. Their opponents, Top Esports, have taken much the similar route here. Yes, maybe slightly weaker opponent in LGD to take out that first series, but a 3-1 up against JDG is definitely nothing to scoff at and certainly shows their strength coming into today as well.
This is our 5th split here on the LPL English fan-made broadcast, and I don't think that we've had a playoff bracket as crazy as this one until now. What an insane gauntlet down there in the lower bracket. BLG taking down JDG yesterday, and now we'll have to face off against Anyone's Legend tomorrow to even get a spot in the top 3. And the reason that both of those teams, Root, are down there in the lower bracket is because of one particular Team WE from last place in Group Ascend all the way here to the winners finals. It has been one of the craziest stories that LoL Esports has seen in quite a while.
With Cube, Monkey, Karis, About, and Aha, the 5-man stack that has performed what is currently a miracle at this stage. It's going to be those 5 players again looking to try and take down Top Esports, book themselves a spot at International, book themselves a spot at MSI, straight into that group stage. And I think that for WE, I don't know if they expected themselves to be able to do this, but there's been a plethora of interviews from Monkey talking about how much he's been enjoying coming back since his little break. And we get to take a little bit of a look at quite what their road has looked like.
Yeah, the Split 3 champions of 2025 and the most recent champions in 2026 in BLG were their first opponents that they took down. They then defeated AL 3-0, who were the previous champions of a year ago in Split 2 of 2025. And now, the most recent champion that has not been felled by Team WE is Top Esports, who won Split 1 of 2025. So they're just taking champion after champion after champion, and they're going to take down one more in order to make it into the grand finals.
Yeah, and obviously this isn't the first time these two teams have met, even since we've been on the LPL English broadcast here. Grapes, WE versus Top Esports was a big hit last year at this exact same point, maybe not the exact same point, but the exact same playoffs in the lower bracket as well. We did get to see these two teams battle against one another. I'm not going to spoil that result just in case people haven't remembered, but it was, believe it or not, a good one to take a look at, and WE will be looking to hopefully get some similar successes here today.
Yeah, I feel like everybody on this team really has taken a big step up from the regular season into the playoffs. Monkey, obviously, their star in the jungle, Cube and Karis in the solo lanes, but it's really been the bottom lane to me that has been the most impressive in terms of the differences that we've seen. Most notably, Arha in the support position really has been stepping up, and seeing WE in this position, Rude, I think this is our last time that we are legally allowed to dunk on Weibo for whatever the hell happened this offseason, but it is a crazy situation to see Arha and WE up in the top 3 and Weibo down in Group Nirvana for the next split.
Yeah, and the reason we bring Weibo into it for those unfamiliar and uninitiated was that Arha was the starting support for Weibo just last split, and now obviously finds himself in a position where he could very well go to MSI. If this series does go their way, and obviously for Weibo, they've had a really tumultuous off-season where they found themselves now actually in Nirvana. So they're a very... Depends which sport you're coming from, where you're looking at, but I think this one definitely up there with the best of them.
The curse of the Bambino made the Red Sox not win a World Series for nearly a century. Hopefully that's not the case for Weibo, but for WE it seems like that is far from the truth, as Arha and WE have gone on a pretty incredible run so far. But they're going to have their work cut out for them against their opponents today, that being Top Esports. This is the team, Rude, that started off the season super hot after revamping their roster. There was a lot of controversies as to how their last season ended, but now with Zweyan in the top lane, Tian jumping into the jungle, and of course having Jackie back in the squad as well. This has been a very different Top Esports specifically to watch here in the postseason.
Yeah, it has, and I think that coming into the postseason, they've sort of rekindled a little bit of that energy that they had at the start of the split, where they were just undefeated, went like 8-0 to start off split number 2. A little bit of a ropey end of the split, but in this postseason, as you mentioned in the playoffs, they've had really good successes. They've played the same number of games as WE here in the playoffs, with a 3-0 and a 3-1 under their belts. 3-1 particularly against JDG, relatively convincing, outside of that game 1 that they did end up faltering in. But you know, the Top Esports here with these newer players as well, like you mentioned, a lot of criticisms went their way. Always just going to be able to compete? Are we going to be seeing any sort of success? And I think that the overall theme here for Top Esports is, well, you found success, be happy.
Yeah, diving into development for this team certainly has brought them a lot so far in Split 2. You know, Feng Yue and Zweyan, both from their development team, now up to the main roster and have been performing well. But they are now in a best of 5 in the winners finals against Team WE. The last time that these two teams played in a best of 5 was last Split, where Top Esports knocked Team WE out of the playoffs in 3-0 fashion. Now, obviously, the rosters here look very different throughout Top Esports, notably with a majority of their players having been swapped out at this point, and WE not having Yao Yao, now Arha, coming in. But just thinking about the different vibes that was with this WE team just a split ago, it's crazy to see them in this position and where we think that the series could actually be quite competitive.
Yeah, and I mean, you look across what these two teams have sort of accomplished and those similarities as well. Cream in the mid lane for Top Esports has actually been a real standout and definitely an area of the map that we'd be looking towards. I mean, even if you just take a look at some of the item builds from him in those two series, Medjai's in both of the games that he's playing AP Champions screams the confidence that he has going into this mid lane matchup. And Feng Yue, the other slightly more tenured piece. I say tenured as though he's not been here since the start of this year, but you know what I mean. He was here for Split 1, and that's definitely boded well for Top Esports so far in that build.
I know there's a lot of conversations about what Top Esports should have done going into Split 2. Some of it revolves around cycling out some of those rookies, notably Feng Yue in the support position. But Rude, the rookies in both of these teams, you have Zweyan and Feng Yue on Top Esports, about the bot laner for Team WE. Both of them have really been able to stand out specifically in the playoffs and most notably in their most recent series.
Yeah, and you know, the for or about, I think that he's definitely the rookie. I mean, in Split number 1, we were very, very happy with his performance, and you know, we ended up shouting out his ability to really pop off, and we get to see in this series up against LNG a nice triple kill in a fight here. But for me, the rookies are definitely more so leaning towards Top Esports and the powerful picks that they can bring to the table. Zweyan coming into this year, we were saying, okay, he's just going to be a tank player up on the top side, but very quickly did he make himself a name for being able to pilot those carries, and in this one in particular on the Rumble, really, really solid performance, able to do more than just lay down good equalizers, but turn team fights as well, with actual, I guess, veteran presence, it feels like. The idea that he's knows his limits on these champs, which is great for a rookie player, because it then tells you, well, actually, we're expecting much greater things going forward from you.
It felt like when this roster announcement was made with Zweyan coming in to replace 369, a lot of people were very hesitant about what that roster move could have made. Ended up being very, very good since the start. And down to the bottom lane, Feng Yue, who had his struggles in the start of the year, really has turned it up as of late.
Absolutely, and I think that this game again, in particular, was another one in their series versus LGD, but really shows quite what Feng Yue in particular is capable of. This was, I believe, before the sort of changes to the support role, where we were looking at maybe Aery getting phased out, but he was just everywhere. Look at the timer, 2 minutes 30, he's burned 2 summoners bot, flash mid lane, and then they walk into this bot side fight. He initiates it, Aftershock doing so much work, able to get this fight rolling. And I think that for Feng Yue, his prowess has really developed. Like you mentioned, Split number 1, people were calling for his head. Okay, put this guy back into the LDL. We'll try again next year. No, Split number 2, has absolutely turned it up and now feels much, much better.
I'm very curious to see what specifically this support matchup is going to hold for us in terms of the champion pools that are now starting to be adjusted a little bit. More of a trend towards melee supports than the enchanters. I don't believe we're on the new patch just yet where all those nerfs ended up coming through, but still with Arha specifically, somebody who really excels on those engaged supports, and we saw Fengyue's Nautilus here, could certainly be a fun thing to keep an eye out for throughout the duration of this best of 5, as we see some more clips from Zoyan, who also has had a really fun split overall. I mean, playing fun champions I think is the big thing. Things like the Olaf, the marksman up in the top side too. This guy is not afraid to just pull out what he thinks is going to win them the game.
No, exactly, and I think that that's a really powerful tool to have in the top lane, right? Remember when we saw AL last year and we had Tabe, really happy that he'd got Flandre as his top laner because of this flexibility, the versatility that he provided to the team. Now we've got top esports with Zoyan, who's more than happy to go, okay, this is my Tristana angle, this is my Olaf angle. Typically picks that we don't see every day, but ones that are coming in the right situations.
Yeah, it's him and Fengyue, watching them so far for top esports, specifically in their series against JDG as well, which was a pretty clean, all things considered, 3-1, especially after that first game. They were, in my opinion, one of the big reasons why top esports ended up coming out on top and sending JD down to the lower bracket, where they are now eliminated from the LPL after making it to first stand just a split ago. So keeping an eye out for those rookies here for TES. Featured matchup, though, involves two of the more veteran members of each of these rosters and the captains of their respective teams, and that goes into the jungle.
Tien versus Monkey here. Tien, one of the best junglers from this split. For the LPL English's money, the best. Obviously, if you look at the All-Pro votings, we on the broadcast decided Tien, first team All-Pro. Know that the LPL proper had their own take on this, putting Xunt ahead of him, but for me, Tien was just better in terms of making plays for his team and more impactful for top esports as well. And as we've looked into the playoffs here, Grapes, Monkey has looked like an absolute demon. First goal difference at 15, consistently making pretty much everything that WE have a success.
Yeah, I mean, watching Monkey like turn it up for the playoffs in a very similar way to what we saw him do last year in Split 2 when he was in a very similar situation. Now, then taking down the top esports team that made it very far into the Split 1 of the previous year. A lot of the same stuff is happening, and I think, Rude, we don't want to necessarily fall for it again, but when you look at the matchup, you can't help but try to favor top esports in this series just based off the players that are involved. If WE want to win, it's going to have to come through early action from Monkey in the jungle.
It is, and these two teams, obviously, you talked about it in Split 1, it was a pretty muted affair with top esports quite easily able to dispatch of WE. Last year, though, Split number 2 playoffs, we did see a 3-2 for WE. It was in the lower bracket, so if anything, a little bit more life on the line kind of vibes for them. I know that both these teams coming into the winners finals have a second chance, but they're going to be playing up against BLG or anyone's legend, and that is not a series that either one of these sides wants to take to potentially secure a spot at MSI. I think that looking on paper, both of these teams probably quite happy with the result that they've come away with to put themselves or to give themselves the best shot at moving toward MSI. For WE, obviously, it's going to be an uphill battle. I think my predetermined expectations still are that top esports probably come out on top with this one, but that was the expectation for every WE series so far, and it's... At what point do we start believing in them? If not now, then when? Is it when they've made it to MSI? Is it when they're in the winners? Is it when they're in the grand finals? Like, what point do we start giving this WE side the grace, the goodwill that they deserve?
It's been something only describable as magic for this Team WE roster. I mean, they have won more series in the playoffs so far than they won throughout the entirety of the regular season, and the same number of games actually in the playoffs that they did in the regular season as a whole, that being a total of 6. This WE team has been scaling. Have they scaled enough, though, and especially in a high pressure situation with a lot of these younger players in spots that a lot of them have never been in before?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one thing fighting for your Ascend lives like they did in that series up against LNG. Again, very bare knuckle, very sort of brawling series that went to 5 games. And then obviously finding what was, I won't say an easy victory, but a 3-1 victory to begin with. Definitely not something that is to be understated here.
None of these WE players have ever made an international event. That could change today as we begin to welcome our teams here in the upper final. Winner goes to the grand finals. Loser will have to play against the winner of BLG and Anyone's Legend. As we take a look at Team WE, the aura on this roster continuing to grow by the day as they're looking to pull off another incredible miracle here in this upper final.
Just let the walkouts play here, Grapes. This is great atmosphere already that you can see. Just the roars from the crowd the second that this team was getting announced. You really do get the impression that if you're not a top esports fan today, you're a WE fan. Everybody loves an underdog. And I think that WE coming into this, they're going to have the backing of the home crowd firstly, and the backing of any non-top esports fans almost certainly going their way. I think there's an argument to be made for, yeah, well, we'd like to see WE get knocked down so we can beat them in the lower bracket if you're AL or BLG, but there's something about that magic that you highlighted that I don't think we'll have seen a run nor a story quite like this for a long time if WE do make it to MSI through the upper bracket, no less.
Yeah, if you are an LPL fan from the perspective of we want to maybe have our best chance of winning internationally at MSI, perhaps you're rooting against WE in a way. But if you're a true LPL fan, you want the maximum chaos whenever possible. And that means that WE are looking very good in your eyes today. But they will have to face off against top esports with their revamped roster. Jackie Love leading the charge in his return to competitive play. And this team is certainly another one that cannot be messed with.
No, they can't. They're an incredibly strong team. They've had a similar run through the upper bracket as WE 3-1, 3-0s their scores from games thus far. And it definitely feels like these two teams come in with completely mismatched energies. WE sort of the why are we here kind of vibes, and then top esports with this is maybe where we expected to be, but with both of them having made it this far, certainly hoping to see some excellent performances across both of these sides, looking importantly, as we've highlighted, at those junglers to get the ball rolling early on. A massive, massive series for both of these two sides. Obviously for the majority of top esports as well. Not a team of players that have a wealth of international experience outside of Jackie Love and a little bit towards Cream as well in recent years. With Tien obviously a very good showcasing there as well, but those rookies on the board, definitely going to be a new experience for them, and definitely going to be one that I'm hoping that they can hold up to.
Those two players fist bumping, Monkey and Jackie Love, a world champion against an underdog unlike any other, as we get ready for game number 1 of our best of 5 series. Now, Rude, we get ready for the draft. WE have first pick, top esports opting towards the blue side to start things off. The jungle pool is certainly where a lot of us are going to have our eyes. A pick that has really risen in priority these playoffs is the Nefiri. Monkey has won a game on it in all 3 of their series that they've played in the postseason so far. Yeah,
it's the new norm here. Taking first pick and then having to play on red side as the enemy tends to take blue. But you're quite right, that Nefiri, I wouldn't be surprised here, Grapes, if it just doesn't get any play in this playoffs, or in this series even. Tien's looks really good on it. We've seen some solid performances as well from Monkey, kind of taking over, especially in that BLG game that he won on it. That felt like the first true awakening that we had for Monkey in particular. Getting that Nefiri and absolutely dumpstering BLG with it was definitely not anything that I think we were expecting to see coming into the playoffs, but there are a wealth of AD junglers that can fit that mold and slot into a early game carry, late game carry style as well. And we'll be looking to see whether or not it's the Nefiri or something more bridge oriented that ends up being picked up by these junglers. And obviously we've got, again, so many bot lane combos that we need to keep our eyes out for. So many different mid-jungle pairings that we're looking at. Think about the Annie with the Nefiri as well. There's a good number of drafts that we can be going for, and I'm just excited to get underway with them.
Yeah, the bot lane's interesting as well. Jackie Love and Feng Yue have had a lot of success on picks like the Ashe and the Seraphine. Specifically at the start of the year, that's what they relied on to get a lot of their early season success. Those champions haven't been as popular in the meta recently. There have been more answers to that in recent weeks, and so seeing if they still want to commit to that sort of thing, or maybe instead pivot to other lanes that can perhaps carry a little bit more into the late game for a player like Jackie Love. Picks and bans about to get underway in what will be a series that determines our first team to go into MSI from the LPL.
Not necessarily our first seed, but our first team, definitely. And again, don't think that either of these two teams, anybody in the LPL sphere would have expected them to be in this upper final fighting up against one another for it. You could have maybe said Top Esports might have been after their 6-0 rocket start that they had, but even still, a massive performance needed by both of these two sides. Bans off the rip. Targets toward that jungle. Orianna, of course, a mainstay on the ban list as well.
Yep, something that Karis has had a lot of success with. Cream as well. Barred for Arhad, the last ban taken away from Team WE, the champion that he has definitely got his money's worth on in the postseason. But with a lot of these target focuses, something like the Karma that has been really permabanned from most of this split is going to end up first picked.
And I don't mind this here. Lots of Karma pairings feel good with the Caitlyn, with the Ezreal. You can look to poke and abuse. This is a staple for success down on the bot side for WE. Would like to see them now use about to really get the ball rolling. Obviously, the other marksman left off of that ban table is the Varus, and we have to remember that this is a flex pick for WE. Definitely an opportunity for Cube to take this onto the top side into the Rumble here. And wouldn't be surprised if they do that. Obviously, ranged versus melee is a good start for Cube to get the ball rolling, and now it's about, do we want to take one of these early junglers nice and quickly here? Xin Zhao still available if we fancy it. Trundle could be answered for Monkey if they want that as well, or are we going to go alternate into a different role?
Looks like Karis on the rise is the focus for Team WE in this game one. I think a lot of the focus for this playoff run for this team has been getting their players on champions that they feel very comfortable on. Players like Karis getting Akali very early on in drafts, the rise, a similar situation for him. Final answer here for Top Esports, likely towards the bottom lane. Feng Yue, again, had a great game on that Nautilus earlier in the playoffs. We might see that locked in again.
Yeah, that one obviously was into a rel, but I do think that Nautilus into Karma boasts a good amount of success here. You can catch the Karma out. She's very squishy. She gets caught warding on her own. Definitely not a champion that's all that easily able to keep herself safe. Does mean, though, that WE can throw some protection bans into the mid lane here. They can keep Karis a little bit safe, and on the rise here, his most played through Spring. We'll see whether or not WE look to protect that. Things like your Cassiope here that are still open, which I feel like are really highly sought after picks, have yet to be even acknowledged here in this draft, with the Scion taken off the board, with probably Cassante, if that's the way that Top Esports are leaning, to be taken away as well. I do think this opens up for that flexibility here for WE. They can just take the Varus into the top side if Top Esports throw a lot of bans at that top role.
It just depends on what specifically About wants to play into something like the Nautilus, maybe a Sivir to get a little bit of extra invulnerability from that crowd control that Nautilus provides, the Ornn band away to make sure that Cube will not be getting his hands on one of those favorite frontliners in this game. Potential flexibility still available here for Team WE. The jungle position for Monkey also wide open. Wouldn't be surprised to see them give him a very interesting pick to kick off our series.
Obviously, he's going to have to, or probably going to see his opposite number first, and I'll probably have to play into the counter pick here. Knows that there's going to be a mid lane pick from Top Esports. They already see the rise, so likelihood is that they're going to save R5 for Tien, another player who has had, or B5 rather, for Tien, who has had a massive year on Top Esports so far. There's that Cassio that I highlighted. Didn't get banned in that second phase, so it really is the free pickup for Top Esports. Does mean that the Cassio locking in into the rise, typically a decent enough answer, and obviously one of the best marksmen or DPS threats in the mid lane that we have got moving into the late game. For Top Esports, I think that what they're missing right now is just that front line. They've got really good mid-range damage, but they don't really have a champion to stand there and absorb the damage, really.
Yeah, curious to see what the answer will be for Tien alongside this Cassio in the mid lane. Gonna be Galio locked in for Team WE into the Rumble. This is a classic counter that we saw more often earlier in the year, and it'll be followed up by Monkey locking in Trundle in a blind pick situation. They do not know who the enemy jungler is, but it feels like they think it's good enough in the current situation that Pillar going to provide a lot of utility towards the backline.
And maybe they're just seeing what I'm seeing, that Top Esports don't really have a front line here, so let's pick a Trundle. If they lock in that front line, then what are they going to do? It's just going to get subjugated and melt just as easily. Instead, Top Esports say, well, we'll just hands check you, because that's what this composition is. It's Nautilus hooks or bust, really. And the Lee Sin locked in for TN there. Gauntlet laid down in game number 1 by Top Esports, saying, yeah, well, I'll take this in the first match. You can ban away the Vi, the Jarv, and the Nocturne. I will make plays regardless.
Don't have to talk about what happened the last time Tian played Lee Sin, but champion that he is very, very comfortable on. I believe it's the most played in his career on the pick, 62 and 44 all time. What's another going to do in terms of helping him out here in this first game? The jungle matchup, again, going to be very interesting. Both Lee Sin and Trundle are champions that can impact the map early, and they have decent amounts of setup in their respective lanes. I would say Monkey has an easier time in the solo lanes, where I would expect TN to be focusing bot.
Yeah, I think that with the Lee Sin and the Nautilus duo, that's going to be a very good gank squad. Just move around, find kills, and that's really what this Top Esports composition is going to need to do. They've got some decent 5 versus 5 with the Casio Rumble, but how are they getting those fights started? Do they have the wherewithal to stand in a front line and actually absorb that damage is something that I'm not too sure about. Obviously, for Top Esports, it's about getting that ball rolling early on with that Lee Sin, with that Nautilus. They can make things happen. WE on the flip side of things, I won't say that they've got a scaling advantage here. They've got the Rise, and what I think they have got is maybe just a little bit more range with that Varus. With the Trundle to be able to stand up, with the Karma to maybe try and protect them against those Mystic shots. I do think that the fight is a little bit easier for WE if they can play at range, but Top Esports, obviously, with the scaling of an Ezreal and a Cassiopeia, can never be understated.
TS and WE have both blocked top 3, but only 2 will make it to MSI. We're in Shenzhen for game 1 of our upper final.
Crowd in full spirits here, Grapes, and that's what we love to see for our upper finals. I will say, slap crowd edge going their way.
Okay, now our graphics team cooked a little bit here. It is 6-7, and that means that we're going to get some tomfoolery down in the bottom lane. Some early summoner spells being traded. Fungio is going to flash forward onto a bout. He still has his flash available, going to use it maybe a little bit too late, though. Arhav will have to do the same, but Jackie Love goes forward and picks up first blood. He will go down to a turret shot, and it's 1-1 to open our series.
That's a win for WE down on the bot side. Yes, first blood does go to the Ezreal. He's going to go pick up his tier, but the Varus is going to have a slightly better wave. He's got teleport to get down to the bot side, can even pick up his tier as well. And that does then mean, with double TPs being expended down here, slight experience advantage going to be going to about. With both of these AD carries working on the teleports and the tiers, well, it doesn't necessarily give as much of an important lead over to about there. But Jackie Love, with TP back into that bot side, will be able to offset some of the difficulties that he had found. Probably going to push this wave and then recall as well. It does mean that for about and for Jackie Love, the early injection, those tiers stacking, almost the gentleman's handshake there. Say, should we start the game with a tier and a Doran's item? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's both get it over with, and then now the real lane can begin. 4 summoner spells burned in the first minute and a half of this game. Now Monkey at level 3 will try to impact the mid lane. Onto Cream he goes, forces a flash, but the Rune Prism can be followed up by Karis. In they go once again. Cream is ticking very low. Monkey will flash forward and finish off the kill with a chomp. TN with the ward hop has the Conqueror proc, looking for a little bit more, but it's hard to duel a Trundle at this stage in the game. There's the dredge line in from Feng Yue, chunks Monkey down to 100 HP, but he's healing up nicely with the help of his W. In goes Tien, back with the resonating strike. Ward hops forward, one more auto should do it, and he will be able to take down Karis to make it another even trade.
Yeah, the Rise there, the limitations of an early game mana pool does mean he can't turn that back around, and it's a 1-for-1 overall. TP from Karis will be available once he respawns to get back into the mid lane. But that roam from Feng Yue is costing Jackie Love a significant portion of his HP here. The Varus, the Karma underneath the turret, going to do a great job at poking out an Ezreal. And of course, Karis didn't find the kill, but Monkey able to find one back. Overall, Top Esports, the proponents of a gold lead thus far, as TN didn't end up sacrificing all that much, was able to help push in that mid wave as well So he's level 4 moving into the crab, which he's going to get both of on top and bot. Monkey going for that gank and wasting a lot of time on the backside of it. This means that he loses out on his tempo on the clear. He's a little bit behind with regard to Tien.
Shout out to you, Rude. You pulled the clip of Feng Yue having an impact on the Nautilus in Game 1 and against LGD. He's doing the same thing here against Team WE. The early roam into the mid lane made sure that it was a 1-for-1 again, even though Monkey got there first.
It looks like Cube's been forced to base really early. He's way on, full HP, still got both potions, and has already forced Cube to take that reset. It means that actually for the top side of the rift, Way on in a very, very good position. We highlighted these rookies coming into the day for Top Esports, and so far in game number 1 we may only be 4 minutes into it, but it's looking good for those young guns for Top Esports, obviously promoted from their LPL Academy squad, and looking to have a bit of an impact, send themselves to what will be their first international.
Yeah, I mean, all of this valuable experience for these rookies, especially when they have these veterans alongside them like Tien and Jackie Love to give them some guidance at this point, looking for a little bit more of that experience if they can make it over to Tejon for MSI later this month. But for Team WE, already locking top 3 in this playoffs. See the equalizer getting burned here by Rumble. Now more fighting in the bot lane as well. Neither bot laner has their flash, remember, from that previous engage, and so Feng Yue is going to continue to wreak havoc down here.
Yeah, the Nautilus, the power that this pick has is that if you find the engage, if you find that all in, you're going to do very well. Obviously, Varus Karma, an excellent poke duo, so the longer you leave them, the worse that it is going to get. Monkey looking for a little bit of a wraparound here. Has got the pillar, no flash, and Feng Yue's flash is available. Jackie Love has the arcane shift.
Uses that shift, though, to get away from the Mantra Q of Arha. Eats a big chunk of damage from that piercing arrow and will be forced to go back to base right before his teleport is up. So a good tempo play by Team WE should get them first dibs on this Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, it does mean that they're probably going to lose a little bit in that mid lane. Depends how quickly they can take this down. With the Sheen in for Monkey, it might actually be fast enough to get in and get out. Kara should be able to walk in, find that, but Tien sniffing around here. Ward over the wall, goes in.
Cream's here as well. He jumps over and steals it away. That is a big win for Top Esports to open this game. Had the Sonic Wave onto Monkey and the ultimate advantage, but chose not to go forward with it. Tien's going to take the win at that and claim the first dragon of the game.
About 3 minutes ago, I highlighted that Tien was much further ahead in the jungle clear than Monkey. Look at the CS numbers.
Gosh.
Look at the jungle pet as well. Tien had upgraded Smite, so there was no chance that Monkey was winning that 50-50. And now Tien's about to make it Monkey's problem. This Trundle has spent so long trying to get things going for his team, whilst Tien just been efficient with his pathing, easily able to find double, triple crabs, in fact, and work his way down to an advantage. Now Monkey looking for Jackie. Has flash.
Yep. Now Jackie Love does have his flash, though, and does a decent chunk of damage. Decides not to use it, though, as Monkey does get kill number 2. It kind of goes to the story of these two teams, though. Monkey consistently trying to bail his laners out, and he ends up paying for it in the CS department.
I'm still really worried for WE here, I will be honest. I think that Tien getting all of these leads, 2 levels up over Monkey right now. He's forced out of that red buff. And I'm looking at the carries for WE here. The gold is in the wrong place. It's on about, and I just personally have never been a fan of Poke Varus. It never feels like it has that 1v9 capability up against all odds, right? If there's one person, one champion that needs to do the damage to all 5 members, a Poke Varus just isn't that. It's not a Jinx, it's not a Sivir, it's not an Aphelios that's going to absolutely pop off in the late game. Yeah, it might be a little bit brutal to deal with in a Poke setting, but it needs more carries around it to set up, and currently WE do not have that.
Certainly one of those picks that does much better in the laning phase, and that's most of the reason why About ends up picking this into somebody like Ezreal, that is another champion with a lot of high range and safety in the early game. What can it do later on? Only time will tell, as it seems like later into this game, Rude, we're going to have to rely more on Karis, specifically on this Rise, to really make an impact.
Looks like they're looking for a top lane play. Realm Warp available. Maybe they were sniffing out the potential grub take by Tien as well, but I do think that'll be indicated by a roam up from Feng Yue here. Has been very happy to sacrifice Jackie Love and his lane, actually, to make sure that there's nothing going on untoward. There's now a teleport in from Feng Yue, in fact. will make this 3v3 on the top side.
Definitely want to scrap around these grubs. Subjugate immediately though onto TN. He has to flash away, but he's 2 levels up on his opposing jungler. Fungyue is not though. He gets taunted up and taken down. Karis gets the first kill of the scrap. And the rest of WE are ganged up as 5, looking to continue the play around the Void Grubs. Zwayan is now overheated. Gonna get maybe crowd controlled by Cube if he has his taunt available sooner rather than later. But now the re-engage can begin. JackeyLove has arrived to the fight, and he's gonna be able to dish out a ton with these Mystic shots. He shifts away from the tether route and will be able to survive with half his HP as well. Top Esports lose somebody, but they end up getting all 3 of the grubs.
Fungyue eats 4 ultis there. Aha, obviously not a massive one, but the Subjugate goes down onto Tien. He spaces that out. Cube, not really a massive impact with the ulti there either. And the Chain of Corruption does lock down the Nautilus, but it secures all 3 grubs. And again, for Top Esports, that's a 1 fight for them. Not really the combat power on WE just yet to try to take this fight. Again, the Poke Virus very dependent on those Blight stacks, on resetting cooldowns by proccing your Blight. Unable to do that in this instance, and it does give over a 3 grub advantage now to Top Esports. WE without really any neutral objectives. 1 minute 20 on the next Drake. They started up the first one, they were unsuccessful in finding it, and I'm looking at those jungle CS numbers once again.
Oh,
Tien,
boy.
the most farm in the game, by the way, on Lee Sin.
I need to watch back the first 5 minutes of this game and see how this happened, because it did not seem like Monkey was going to be taken that far behind, but that's the situation that we are in now, and it's resulted in the lanes also struggling as a result. You see About taking a bad trade there into the bottom lane as he eats this wave under his turret, and WE in a bit of a difficult spot so far in Game 1. They have locked top 3 though, Rude, already in the regular season, or in the playoffs I should say, as an 8 seed. This has only happened 1 other time in LPL history, and when you take into account the fact that they were 1-13, certainly one of the bigger underdog stories we've ever seen in Tier 1 League of Legends esports.
Yeah, and we take a look at who the other teams that were able to do that. Oh, it was WE twice, actually. So definitely, weirdly, the organization that is most known for making this happen. JDG able to in spring 2019 as well, making it from 8th seed up to that top 3. Before WE here, I don't think that this writes the end of their story. Game number 1 not looking so good right now, but at least 2 more to come after this, and this game's not all over just yet either, so definitely an opportunity for them to send this one step further than just top 3. With the Dragon spawned now, it's Top Esports who have got first purchase on it. Fungyue, JackeyLove moving their way through the river. Going to try to clear out any of the lingering vision that WE do have down. Looking at those top laners as well. Cube walking from base down to this bot side. So Zwayan with TP, he's going to be able to match it if we see that. But it's going to be free time for the Rumble on the top side. And soon, as that Galio shows, now that's going to be a big indicator to Top Esports. Actually, hold on. I think maybe may find an advantage very easily.
Oh yeah, already forced the flash out of Fungyue as Cube goes in with the shield of Duran, now flashes away himself to make sure he does not get hit by a miasma. Speaking of getting hit, that's exactly what JackeyLove did by that Chain of Corruption from About. He flashes away from the piercing arrow and will be able to escape with his life. Dragon now at 3,000 health, and Tien and Zwayan have both arrived to the fight. Knock up lands here onto the Rumble, shield of Duran going to stun, taunt up another, and Kars is doing a decent amount of damage as well. Tien takes the Dragon away once again, and it's a 2-0 lead in that department for Top Esports. They will pay for it with Fungyue's life. It should be a worthwhile trade all the same. They're looking for even more actually, as a Realm Warp will send 4 members into the enemy jungle, but Top Esports just run the other way.
And I think Top again very happy with this trade. Jackie's going to TP up to the top side, try and find some plates up there as well. And that's going to give them another Dragon in their favor. They don't mind losing Fungyue here at all. That's another big advantage going the way of Top Esports. A very well worked exchange, one that shouldn't really have been so easy for them without an Ezreal, without the flash on the Nautilus that you're expecting to be that really big ticket for an engage. Still able to find what they were looking for. Zwayan
gets tethered, but a really nice equalizer will chunk Arha down to 40%, and now Top Esports can make an opposite play here mid. On to Karis is the Sonic Wave, and the Resonating Strike will give Tien kill number 2 in this Game 1.
Yeah, Karis needs to flash those, unfortunately. If you're just going to sit and tank Lee Sin Q, the follow-up is almost definitely going to come through. Now this snowballs. Look at the move from Top Esports, from mid to bot.
Oh, and they're looking for more onto Monkey once again. Has no ulti and will die because of it. TN gets hit up by the Chain of Corruption and eats a big chunk of damage, but the damage from about is not there just yet as TN goes on a killing spree.
Yeah, 2-0-2 on a Varus. We still don't have that first item finished, and again, it's a poke Varus, this pick that has been ever-present, sort of prevalent on the ban list. It's really good when it gets ahead. When it's behind, though, it's not the pick that's going to be able to carry you through a 5v5 team fight, and for WE, they are learning about it the hard way. Karis going to be able to collect himself some gold down on this bot side, but I think as the dust settles on what was a pretty scrappy 2-3 minute sequence with that dragon and then the plays off the back of it, Top Esports come away with a 1500 gold lead localized on TN, most importantly. And this Lee Sin picked 5th in the draft for Top Esports, and maybe we're getting to see why.
One of TN's most played champions. Hell, I think he has a world skin on this pick as well. I don't know 100% if he's playing it or not. Didn't check at that early stage of it because of all the action, but when he is on this pick, things tend to go well for teams that TN is on, and he's looking to also make it back to the international stage. I remember last year, he was on Weibo. That team ended up facing a lot of struggles and getting knocked out in the Split 3 gauntlet before qualifying for Worlds. So TN back on TES, where he did make it to multiple internationals throughout his career, and to try to do it again in 2026.
Obviously for WE, a question now for how they can try to claw their way back into this game. Obviously, Monkey has found himself pretty disastrously far behind here, and again, TN upgraded Smite here for this fight if they look for a crab, but it's not going to be the case.
More fighting though. Subjugate already issued. Chain of Corruption lands onto the Nautilus as well. Feng Yue should be going down. They'll give the kill over to the Trundle. In goes the Realm Warp. Karis looking for a little bit more. Forces a flash out of Cream before he gets hit by the Rune Prison. Dragon not available, but WE still have been able to find some picks.
That's TP used by Cube to get something that, well, they were getting anyway. They found the kill on Feng Yue, but what does it actually net WE here? It doesn't give them any gold particularly. That bot wave not pushed in, the mid wave not going to be taken either. Maybe they'll find the Herald, or maybe they'll find Jackie.
He gets taunted, he gets arrowed, he gets killed. That's Cube getting on the board and taking down the enemy AD carry. Double teleports will come in to try and re-engage. TES looking for a kick on to about, and TN will find it. And we'll get a double kill onto Arha eventually. And he's going to be able to get away for a little bit longer, but there's that Sonic Wave to secure the 2K. Now on to Feng Yue is Team WE, but the Flame Spitter is burning down Cube, and WE are falling underneath their own Tier 1. Cube with one more Twin Fang should be able to take down Karis. The burn nearly going to take him down, but he'll survive with single-digit HP. And Top Esports starting to swing this game right into their favor.
Yep, another fight that is started with WE in the numbers advantage that they can't quite see through. The experience lead, the gold lead, everything is just a little bit too much for WE right now. And again, you're getting to see that they're still missing out on those crucial damage numbers. We've got Ryze and we've got Varus as our DPS threats. The Galio has opted for this off-tank build that we see so frequently. The Trundle put so far behind. And it's another fight where Jackie caught out. Almost a bit too reminiscent, really, of him being caught out on mid-waves. But that's the situation they find themselves in. And you'd think from here, there surely should be a winning fight for WE. But About gets one shot. He doesn't even get to contribute. So it's immediately the numbers that are evened up. Then there's a big 3v3 down on the bot side of this fight. Again, Cassiopeia, consistent DPS. The Ryze still not yet churning out those numbers. As Top Esports, when we come out of the replay, find the Rift Herald in exchange for WE stopping that Drake stacking.
You see the kills even on your screen right now, but that is not where the game state is at this point, Rude. TES, despite giving over a couple of kills here and there, have been able to capitalize on the kills that they have gotten a little bit better. They are up 2,000 gold, 2 Drakes, and are now sending a Rift Herald into this Tier 2 tower on the top side. Should be able to actually take it down. So another big influx of gold going their way.
Zweon, gonna hop in, say thank you very much. I'll take my leave with that, just in case WE had made a move maybe a little bit faster than he was anticipating. WE not going to be able to defend their own red buff as TN just smites that one away, and It's just adding insult to injury here. Tien with a monster performance here in game number 1, showing you all why we as the LPL English broadcast voted for him as the first team All-Pro jungler.
5-0-0 on this Lee Sin. A little bit better than what he ended up doing against JDG. Seems like this Lee Sin more than comfortable for one of the best junglers in LPL history. On the other side, Monkey really struggling to get gold at this point, but he's still having an impact in this game. Let's see if he can continue to stack it up here. 6 out of his 7, no pun intended on the date, have been his kill contributions so far. And he's also going to get up to the top side of the map and take down this turret.
Trundle is going to pillar at the end of the day. Whether he's got no gold or all the gold, Trundle can press E. Obviously, what comes after the pressing of the E that defines how much gold you've got, and rears that problem. It's a trade of tier 1 turrets here. Top lane falls for Top Esports, but they find the mid lane tier 1 arguably the more important objective here. As Top Esports looking forward, Jackie Love working his way towards that Muramana. He's the one who's really been put in the dirt this game, but a little bit rude here for us to replay this, but sure thing. Thank you very much. Tier item has been picked up for Cream. There's that Muramana for Jackie Love, and now Top Esports are hitting a really strong mid-game peak. Zweon likely to catch this wave, recall, grab another second item for him, and then, I mean, it's just a numbers diff across the board, really. You're looking to about to maybe make the difference on the Varus, the pick that you did stack quite a lot of priority on in the early game, or in the early stages of the draft. Whether or not he can carry through all of the power that Top Esports have, though, that's a different question.
We're getting close to some of those item breakpoints on Team WE's side. Not there just yet. They're hoping to maybe achieve that before this next dragon spawns in 2.5. Monkey, though, has other ideas. He gets knocked up by Feng Yue's depth charge, and he is looking for a re-engage as well. Hero's entrance will immediately go back onto the Nautilus, and they'll burn him down, but what will the fight look like in the back end? There's the taunt shield, keeping Cube alive for a little bit longer, but the equalizer from Zweon is very big, and will close out onto Cube, forcing a flash in his response. It is a 1-for-0 in favor of WE, but the health bar is still good for TS.
And look at the ultis that WE use. Chain of Corruption, Subjugate, Hero's Entrance, all now gone in the wake of any pending fight. It's a good little gold grab here by WE, and they are doing that quite frequently. On Feng Yue in particular, obviously the lowest level in the game, going to be as the support. What does it get them? They're constantly finding these picks onto the support, but does it give them anything, or does it just mean that they've got no ultis for any fight that happens after?
They teleport Cube mid to try to take down this tier 1, but Feng Yue is already back respawned. The death timer is not long at this stage in the game, especially with the Nautilus being level 8. Let's send another wave here into the turret. So right now, Cream is pushing on the bot lane. That is the difference maker in terms of numbers at the moment. Tien goes forward, finds the Insect onto Carson, will force him to flash away himself. The True Shot Barrage already does a lot, and there's the petrifying gaze from Cream, arriving to the fight at the perfect moment. It is a triple kill for Zweon. Jackie Love gets number 4, and Top Esports have blown this game right open in the mid lane.
And Baron's going to be their prize for it. Cream with a massive petrifying gaze. He has been the biggest improvement through 2026 for Top Esports, and finds that fight, sets it up for Zweon. No equalizer, but the Flame Splitter finds all 3. The Baron goes to Top Esports, and we're going to get another look at this fight. Top Esports that started off, it's Tien as well, managing to find that right angle. This should be the area where Varus thrives, the poke, that opportunity to get the fight going, but Karis gets hit by a Q. That's the angle that Tien needs, lines up 2 with the kick, and then look at Cream here, comes in, R-flash, triple slow, and that's all he needs here. Catches everybody, hook, line, and sinker. And that's a massive fight that Top Esports will take, and probably pushes them over the edge here and secures them a Game 1 win.
5,500 gold at this point, and that fight started by Tien and finished by Cream. The mid laner for TES has had an incredible playoff run. 11.7 KDA entering today, leads all players in the LPL playoffs this split. And this is a guy that, again, was the young piece a couple of years ago when he first joined Top Esports, and has now blossomed into this veteran that is leading some other rookies that are in his side lanes.
Yeah, and Cream, you know, kind of in his rookie years, a bit of a similar champion pool to that we see from Karis, known for the Akali, known for these melee champions, known for the assassins, but has really rounded out his playstyle, really rounded out his champion pool as well, to a point now where 115 on a Cassiopeia. King of the Totem fans rise up, as they will remember that with Cream on this Cassiopeia, not something that has been necessarily prevalent for many years, but coming into 2026, this is a pick that's ruled the roost.
There's that third dragon picked up for Tien as well. 3-1 in that favor, but don't know if the soul will even have to be secured for Top Esports to close this game out. They have Baron power play for another minute and a half. Tier 2 in the mid lane should go down with one auto attack from Jackie Love. Now they can continue to play on multiple lanes. You see Tien pushing on the bottom side. These waves should be able to be synced up nicely unless WE have anything to say about it. The Miasma blocking Monkey off from a potential engage, and W will have to wait for their moment, probably in their own base.
And look at who Top Esports have decided their split pusher is. It's Tien on the Lee Sin, bolstering up the cannon minions down in the bot lane. Let's share triple farm amongst all of our carries. That's not a problem. We've got Tien working towards his Guardian Angel, and that's what we are going to focus on in terms of our gold, in terms of our resource allocation. But Top Esports struggling. Here comes a Realm Warp.
Yeah, maybe a desperation play, but it could be working. They're going on to Cream. The star player for Top Esports goes down, but the kill goes over to Arha. Not where the shutdown gold wants, but it's still a numbers advantage until Tien has other ideas. Kicks Karis once again back into the Top Esports roster, and will make it a 2-for-1, or a 1-for-1, I should say, as it looks like About actually was able to escape with a minimal HP thanks to the help of that hero's entrance.
Mid laner for mid laner here, but again, importantly, it's that inhibitor turret that's falls way on. He's tanking the turret.
He gets turret aggro and ends up dropping. Yeah, that tower ends up going down, but maybe WE can find a re-engage. In goes Cube, finds the taunt on to Jackie Love, should be able to one-shot him, and there it is, 600 gold into the Galio's hand. But Feng Yue and Tien now fighting out in a 2v3. They land a knock-up onto the Nautilus, take him down, and it's Tien now in a 1v3. He will drop inside shutdown, go in the way of About, and I can't believe it, Rude. WE holding on in this game.
And an ace for WE, taking down that consistent DPS threat was the key. With no Karis, or rather with no Cream there, Karis was able to do just enough off the back. He ends up falling in the initial trade. And then it's About that linchpin of this composition, the one who's constantly had the gold lead, that are able to find the fight. Monkey with a great pillar lines up the chain of corruption. Cream knows with no flash he is just dead, tries as best as he can to get as much damage down as possible. And then after this, you're thinking, well, surely this is just a wipe that Top Esports are going to take. About's had to go away, Cube's forced out of the fight. But then they reach just a little bit too far forward. TP flank comes in from Cube, a great angle, and Swayon with a rare blunder here, tanks turret, and that does the majority of the damage. He falls underneath the tier 3, and then Cube comes in, great flash, knows that that's an angle that he can find, takes out Jackie. And I thought that Tien might be able to go nuclear here. Fortunately, Aha tanks the Sonic Wave, and that's enough to make sure that Tien doesn't find access to the Varus. Great spacing, great peel as well between Monkey from Cube as well, and About able to do just enough work.
Call it hubris, call it playing for content, whatever it is. We've seen too many teams lose fights to Team WE in WE's own base. BLG obviously in Game 4 last week. Many a time in the LPL regular season, and we might be seeing it again. Monkey caught out though by Swayon as he eats a big chunk of damage from the Flame Spitter, with the Baron spawning in less than a minute and a half.
And let's look at those timers, right? Like you say, less than a minute and a half on the Baron, minute and a half exact on the Drake. Monkey keeping a hold of that Subjugate is really important.
Speaking of, using onto Cream again, he still has a slash and will be able to use it to get over the wall. That's a big cooldown now onto the Cassio, who is rather immobile without that summoner spell.
Exactly, and despite Tien being, 2.4k gold ahead, he is still a Lee Sin. The consistent DPS exists in Cassiopeia, not necessarily in the Lee Sin. You do require just a little bit more time for the Lee Sin to get things rolling, whereas if you leave the Cassio unchecked, she's going to rip through your team regardless. So with no flash now on Cream, Jacula's not going to have flash for when these summoner spells or when these crucial objectives spawn. It's eyes on to About, eyes on to Cube actually, to see if he can find access to that backline. Can he be the big tank in the front line that holds up Cream, that holds up Jackie, and then allows for About's poke to come through? Because we're now at that stage where the Varus needs to start singing. Let's see this poke come through. Let's see these piercing arrows start to sing.
Baron up in 5. We have the Hex Soul available in less than 30, so Top Esports gaining control of the bottom side river. Tien level 16, very powerful still on this Lee Sin. Going to go forward with the Resident Strike, forcing a little bit of a response from WE, who are looking to instead focus their attention on getting priority in the mid lane. The Dragon will be spawning in now 10 seconds. Miasma onto Cube will chunk him down a little bit, and WE trying to find some way to enter the river, but they are not successful at the moment.
Yeah, these piercing arrows aren't quite connecting here. Zweon's got a good off angle, but Kara's going to spot that one out. He's a level down on Cream, and there's the first piercing arrow. 300 damage onto JackeyLove, not nothing here, as Top Esports now look to start up the Dragon.
Has been tagged. Top Esports pushing it into their side of the map. It will be Soul if they can collect it. A teleport is coming in for Cube. And now TES backing off for just a bit. They have good wave positioning in the bottom side at this point in the game. Cube gets a lot of frontline damage with that shield that he has from the teleport, and WE still worried to fully lock this Dragon down. They know that TN has stolen away multiple of these objectives already.
It's eyes on Varus. Can we get the poke? Can we get the damage down? Fengwei low. JackeyLove half HP. Let's see. Here's the equalizer.
There's the equalizer. In goes TN. Dragon at 2000 HP. Who's going to get it? It's secured by TES, and they claim the Hextech Soul. Hero's entrance escape for Cube. And now it's Karus and Cream in a 1v1. It'll be won by the Catsiopea. 1-0 in favor of TES. And they could be looking for more. TN uses the Sonic Wave to get over to the Gromp, but Cream gets targeted and taken down by Cube. That is another equalization for Team WE. And they have the Mantra Shield, looking to continue the fight. In goes TN. He goes for About, but About flashes away. Gets a shield from Arha and should be able to live. And so will TN. Monkey able to potentially save the rest of his team with a pillar, but it will not come out just yet. Cube gets targeted. The teleport barely saves About, but it might not save the game for WE.
They lost their tier 3 turret earlier, so the inhibitor is open, but the HP bars are too low. WE can go back to base, and they can defend those objectives. A scrappy one. A really close fight there. One that Top Esports come away the massive victors of. They get 2 kills, and they get the soul as well, but we're not done for the crying just yet here, Grapes. It's Top Esports that have got numbers advantage. And now maybe an angle onto the Baron. Cream going to respawn. He's got TP. Will immediately make his presence known on the map as Fengwei trying to clear out this cone.
Cube spawning in 15 does not have a teleport, so it will be a big numbers advantage for Team Top Esports. Onto the Baron they go. It's already at half HP, and Monkey has no way into the pit at this point. Sure to go down. The big purple worm belongs to TES, and they'll be wearing that buff for the next 3.
With the Hextech Soul as well, that might just be the thing that ticks this one over. A little bit of a blunder around that 20-25 minute marker by Top Esports, but they find themselves now with all the neutral objectives that they could desire. Maybe an Elder in 5 minutes just to really seal the deal, but this inhibitor should be a formality. It's going to be bot on top that are the tricky ones to try to break open, but we're starting to see here the power of this Varus. About doing so much work with these piercing arrows. JackeyLove. Vamp Scepter now in tow. Does mean he'll be able to sustain up a little bit.
Not that much, though. Look at that. Down to 35%. If he stayed a little bit longer, WE could have had another one of their signature-based defenses. About maybe has the Cerildus upon his next recall. Maybe finishing this wave off for that. That will be even more added value for this Poke Varus.
Getting the slows in might actually be a better way to try to stick onto Cream for some of the other members on this squad. I do think getting Cube that finished up stasis is going to be really important. Obviously used it to try to survive in the bot side fight. I do think Cube quietly, by the way, having a really solid performance on the Galio. Obviously I think the majority of these teams and the majority of the players having a pretty solid performance across the board. Obviously Jackie with a couple of instances of being caught out, but since that mid-game has actually stepped up and starting to do a good amount of damage. Cream as well on the Cassio, some great flash plays. Tien, don't need to sing his praises any more than we already have done, but he's been absolutely insane. It's about making sure that these top laners find that Zhonya's before the next big fight for me, and then obviously with that Cerildus now picked up, can about do, well, half HP of JackeyLove's health? The answer, yes.
That is a big amount of poke damage and starting to become an issue for Top Esports. They can't go further for these sieges if JackeyLove, their main damage dealer at this point, is very low before the fight even begins. Another piercing arrow lands on Cream and About's really starting to pump out some DPS. Another wave will come in, and it should be the tier 3 tower going down. WE have already lost an inhibitor in the mid lane. They might lose a second down here bottom. Not really any signal for a re-engage just yet. WE, they're going to want to stay alive. It's going to have to be under their Nexus turrets.
This full sponge gaining from WE.
Oh,
Oh,
in goes
TN!
TN. Another kick! It's onto a bounce! And there's no poke when you're in the middle of the enemy team! Zwayon gets the kill, and that might be wraps for now. A petrifying gaze finds 4, and it will be Top Esports holding on in this game at number 1. Karis and Arha still alive. It is a 4v2 at this point. The Rise uses the Realm Warp to get back to base, healing up a little bit. The Nexus Tower is now getting shredded. Zwayon very low. Cream nearly taken down as well. Karis does not have the Actualizer active, but still does a lot of damage. The Nexus is now exposed. In they go. Miasma, the Dredge Line, and that should do it. Arha will go down to finish the ace. TN with a double kill will jump up to 8-1-8 for a TES 1-0.
And Tien finds the crucial kick here. His Lee Sin instrumental from start to finish. Picks up game number 1, knocks about into the squad, and ends WE's chances in this first one. A top esports win that they had to fight for, but the one that Tien handed to them there in that final fight.
It's pretty easy MVP in my eyes in terms of where this one should go.
Yes.
This guy from minute 1 making an incredible impact in this game on his most played champion throughout his career. Obviously, Top Esports going for a more inexperienced roster in Split 1 that featured a player that was replaced by Tien going into Split 2 for a multitude of reasons, and he has been all the difference in terms of helping Top Esports upgrade themselves to the point where they are standing today.
I mean, a massive, massive showing from Tien, like you say. Came in to Split 2 and has transformed this Top Esports squad, has really made them look solid, and obviously for WE, they've got enough time to go back to the drawing board, start thinking, what can we do differently for game number 2? But the good news for them is that Tien can't play Lee Sin again. And that's the real bright spot that I think they'll be looking towards, because he was just everywhere, everything all at once.
Pretty great stuff by a veteran player, one of the few veteran players in this game, dominated by youth in our upper finals of the LPL. And without Tien, Top Esports might have fallen to another one of those WE comebacks. We saw it maybe starting to formulate there, Rude. But yeah. I don't think the draft was necessarily in the best position for them to fully finish that opportunity.
No, they were sort of very reliant on About for the poke and then Karis for the DPS. And Karis found himself a couple of levels down at various different junctures, was never really present in the damage to get things rolling. And when we saw Karis try to contribute to team fights, Tien just popped him, right? Put him in the mixer with everybody. The Rise is really easy to focus down. And in that final fight where, yeah, Karis gets to live, he does a good amount of damage, but with too many minions, with too many people standing in front of him, just doesn't quite have the ability to take out 4 members in his base without that backup, without that carry.
And a lot of this could have been remedied if Monkey just didn't fall behind 40 CS in the early game. Yeah. I still am very curious as to how that ended up happening, but again, it's kind of what WE have gone for. They will sell out for Monkey to try to make these plays, and sometimes it just doesn't end up working out.
Oof, no, it doesn't. You can see there that big dip at that 25-minute marker was where we were beginning to think, hold on, a WE about to perform just another element of movie magic, but they weren't quite able to do that. It was Tien who sort of shut the door, closed it firmly in their faces, and you can see About's DPS there. That's why you pick Varus, I guess, is to be able to do this work in these siege setups.
And it ended up, doing a lot of damage for About, but not enough to, you can chip away at the health bars, but it's about landing the final kill.
The killing blow
is the most valuable, and that's what Tien was able to do a lot more than About NWE in this game. I'm sure we're going to get into some highlights soon. Again, the early game, very much a swing towards Top Esports, even though WE were doing their due diligence in finding kills across the map.
Yeah, and I will say, just a quick look at that kill participation for Top Esports. 80% across Tien, Zwayon, and Fengyue here. We highlighted Fengyue early on, his ability to try and make those roams, and I think that that's a large proponent of how Tien actually got ahead. Obviously, if the Lee Sin isn't able to find that kill early on in that mid lane, then means that he's probably not going to be able to snowball as fast as he does, and the only reason he finds that kill is due to Fengyue, who had a couple of ropey deaths, but I think understood his assignment quite vividly here. His job, keep himself sort of as the engage tool and set up for the team.
He did that pretty well. Again, on this engage pick, the tank supports for Fengyue. In his young career so far, it's been mostly an enchanter meta, in the LPL, so we haven't seen too much of him on some of these picks, but certainly able to shine just like we saw from him earlier in the playoffs. And get some nice cinematic replays here of Tien on the Lee Sin. Cream also with a massive performance, particularly in the team fights.
Yeah, Casio obviously doing a lot of work for the damage, but I think there's no surprises here. Tien really the one who we're hoping can take this first player of the game, the MVP for this one, without any doubt whatsoever. And you can kind of get to see there the amount of damage that Karis tries to do here in the backside of this. Gets Jackie Love quite low, but not really able to push it over the line. We're just waiting for that final kick to come through. The final thing that breaks open this game, as it was Zweon here who found himself in a little bit of danger, and then a TP flank comes through from Cube to begin the comeback for WE that was ultimately not to be found.
This is the moment that you're like, oh no, it's happening again. Especially when Tien ends up not performing in this 2v3 situation. Cube with a Justice Punch on him, kind of opening up the opportunity for about to finish that kill. But then here, another instance where Tien just wins a 50-50. 3 of the 4 dragons that Top Esports had were 50-50s, and they were all won by this Lee Sin.
Obviously the first one, based off the fact that he's got an insane amount of smite power, but the rest of these here, you know, really good kick from Tien to knock Monkey out of the pit. Monkey has to flash back in, tries to get in range, doesn't manage to get the smite on it. I mean, Tien here, Warthop over the wall to get the Q in. He knows he's got GA as well, so he really doesn't mind if he goes in. His team are going to try and bail him out. But nobody's walking close enough to actually finish off Tien there. Felt like that was a bit of an overcommit as he queues into 4 people, but I mean, it's WE who were just a little bit too scared.
And ends up with them falling down 1-0 in this best of 5 series. They have not lost a game 1 in the playoffs yet, Rude. So this is unknown territory for them. Have not been behind in a best of 5 throughout their run to the upper finals. Going to see if they can bounce back here as we get closer to game 2. One thing that we have learned about this WE team, Rude, over the last couple of years, they seem to have very strong mental. No matter how down they are in the standings, in the games, in the series, always willing to come out and really put their all into the next game.
And I do think if they give themselves just a few more tools, then we could very easily see a good series between these two. Felt like they were very handicapped in terms of what they could do, and that Tien had a very, very good game to start off with, and you know, finding double CS at sort of 10 minutes into the game isn't going to be consistent, you would like to think, for Top Esports and for Tien here. So it's not over yet for WE. Obviously a game 1 that didn't go amazingly for them. They had a few bright spells, but still something to cling on to is their ability to rally behind one another and you know, use that captain, let's get Monkey, making some calls, making the team nice and happy, and coming back into this next one.
No surprise here. It's Tien with another player of the game. Has been a big reason as to why Top Esports have gone on this run in the upper bracket of the playoffs, and with an 8-1-8 performance on the Lee Sin, brings his team to a 1-0 series lead. We'll be back with Game 2 in a few short minutes, but before we do that, we want to give a big thank you to all of you watching on LPL English, including our coffee supporters. And if you'd like to support LPL English, you should consider becoming a coffee member, as it's the best way to support the LPL English project, with the vast majority of your contributions going directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments going to upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it also pays on-air talent and content creators. So you can subscribe to the coffee, linked in our chat, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. MSI is coming up. I know our team has some plans around that, potentially with one of these 2 teams that you see here today. Top Esports might be that, as they are 2 wins away from locking a spot in the grand finals and at MSI. We'll see if WB can bounce back after this short break on LPL English. Back here on LPL English for Game 2 of our Split 2 Upper Finals. Top Esports taking that first game in a pretty decisive fashion. There's the typical WE, can they come back story that was thrown into there, but for the most part, Rude, Top Esports took control from minute 1 and ended up cruising to an early win.
Top Esports, and more specifically TN here, took control from minute 1, making a real impact. Very early doors. Obviously, we saw some really scrappy fighting down on the bot side as well. Fong Yue back on the Nautilus felt like it was a big pickup for them to take. A really nice little avenue for them to try and find some semblance of success. But it really was all TN. It was all the Lee Sin, just from start to finish, having a great time of things. And we look at those sets down in the bottom side of our screens as well. Top Esports coming into this 8-6. You highlighted this to me before the show, Grapes, that Top Esports split series with literally everybody. That's how they got this 8-6 record, except for one team in particular, and that team just so happens to be WE, who they're playing up against for today.
Combining that with what happened in the Split 1 playoffs, it is 7 straight wins for Top Esports against Team WE in 2026. Now 8 after they took this next game to open up our best of 5 series. What happened before that, though, was a WE 3-2, and that game, that series ended up going the distance. If you're a Team WE fan, if you're an LPL fan, perhaps you're hoping for that to be the case here again. WE do have to bounce back a little bit. We didn't love the way that their draft ended up panning out, just in terms of the full damage attributions that were put into their composition. Is it more carry-oriented for Monkey that we're looking for, Rude, or is it maybe getting about onto something that deals a little bit more damage in the late game?
It can definitely, we can do both, to be completely honest with you. I just think that there needs to be pieces that better synergize together. I think when you go Varus, you need double carries on the top side, and Galio Trundle don't fit that brief. A Rise can be there, absolutely, but the Galio Trundle, there needs to be a tank on one side, a damage threat on the other, just to get you over the line here. Trundle, not really that damage threat. Galio, for Cube's money, did about as best as he could do on the Galio, but just doesn't have the capabilities to get that damage down that we were hoping for. And obviously with the Varus doing a lot of work in the late game, it would have been great if there was just one extra piece there that was doing the extra bits that were needed.
And while Cars had a really good series against LNG to get Team WE into the postseason, throughout their run in the upper bracket has not been as dominant. Now, I think part of that can be attributed to the fact that he's playing against Knight, Shanks, and now Cream. But perhaps if you're Team WE trying to put Karis on something that can have impact, even if it does not get out to a really fast lead, and not something that you have to rely on to do consistent damage as the primary source for your team.
Okay, so it's the same drafting setup in game number 2 as it was for game number 1. A Carly ban here instead for Top Esports, maybe dangling the Orianna bait a little bit here, and sort of saying, hey, do you want to take this? We've got an answer, you can have it for free. But no, WE instead, they elected with actually taking last pick, so they've gone for counter pick here. They're going to be looking to see what sort of spicy picks they can throw in on 5.
Now, you wouldn't normally predict this for any team, but if you're WE going last pick, I'm expecting that to go towards Monkey in the jungle. So perhaps an early bottom lane lock-in would make sense in this situation to respond to the buy that was selected by TN first for Top Esports.
Yeah, we already see that. Does mean that Zyra Khan stocks increase just because it's the best AD carry at trying to deny Vi any sort of access. Instead, WE say, alright, about your job is to play Corki and it's to win lane. We'll see what it is that ends up getting paired with him down on that bot side. We've seen the Nami lots of times previously, and that's going to be locked in here. Plenty of bot lane duos still up and available. I think Yunara Lulu has kind of fell out of flavor for a lot of players, but that's an answer that we can look to see. Lucian Milio is completely unchecked in this one as well if they want to go for this as Top Esports. It's been a bit of a sore spot, I think, for Top Esports, to be honest, the Lucian Milio, but it's something that they've played a lot.
Haven't won a lot on it, though, especially here in the playoffs. Jackie Love, a very storied AD carry player, 1-3 on Lucian in this split, despite being 52 and 29 on it in the duration of his career. Looks like they're instead going to opt over towards that Yunara Lulu, like you said. Maybe a little bit safer in the early game, but a lot more late game insurance for one of the bigger carries on this TS team.
Yeah, you say safer, I say weaker. I think versus the Corki Nami, it gets bullied earlier on, is the problem that they are going to have to sort of battle up against. But with this Annie locked in by WE, their composition already very much geared toward a mid-game as opposed to a late game. And Top Esports going to, in this second round of picks, decide, do they want to fully index into that late game? Do they want that large scaling mid lane carry, or do they want something that can pair up with the Vi, see them through? I think things like Ahri, definitely something to be considered as a ban here. We know Vi Ahri, a very lethal duo. Maybe even a Talia, something like that, that can pair up with the Vi, roam around, get some leads, find a nice stable point to play from, and then pass the ball to JackeyLove in the late stage.
Yeah, the Aurora also just something that Cream has dominated on this season. The Ahri would make a lot of sense as the final ban for Team WE, especially given the Annie has already been selected here for Karis, and there it is. No Vi Ahri for Top Esports this time around. So yeah, still have to select their solo lanes, while WE, as we mentioned, likely holding that last pick for jungle. So Cube's probably going to have to blind pick here.
Yeah, I think this is just Azir plus Sion for Top Esports. Like, get a big beefy front line, let's put an Azir in the mix as well. I see the Annie, I can play at range if needed, and honestly, by that stage, I think that puts them in a really, really nice spot to play out what is just a very solid 5v5 teamfight composition with a tank on the top side. I mean, they've banned Shen. We're taking Sion here without a doubt. If Cube doesn't take Sion here, then that's the lock-in. And we'll see. You know, they took R5 for a reason. Are they going to give Monkey? You know, they see the counter. They know the Vi's going in there. Are we going to get jungle pick here and answer that, or are we going to blind top, knowing that there's a Sion coming in?
Maybe a preemptive counter. Aatrox is a champion that does well into Scions, particularly earlier into the game. So having Cube lock this in would make a little bit of sense in that regard. He played it in Game 5 of their win against LNG to get them into that postseason bracket, leaving that final pick potentially to Monkey, unless they want to flex this Aatrox around.
Yeah, you're right. It could equally be an Aatrox that moves into the jungle for Monkey. We've seen plenty of carry junglers taking the Aatrox there. It's not going to be the Azir, instead going to be the Victor. Locked in for Cream, so, I mean, fits the same brief. We're looking for late game damage. We're looking for a late game team fight. Top Esports, bite the bullet. Yeah, we'll take Sion into Aatrox. We don't care. We don't think Cube's good enough to be able to put Zweon far enough behind for this to be a problem. I know it's all about what can Monkey do. Are we going for something? Early game prowess? Yeah. Looks like it. The Olaf locked on 5.
WE needed something to dive this lethal backline duo of the Yunara and the Victor, and the Olaf will be able to provide that. There's a lot of appeal in terms of crowd control for Top Esports, but it's not going to matter to a Viking King that can just press R and ignore all of it. WE have an interesting draft. This is also a takeaway from Zweon. Monkey going to have his work cut out for him in this game too.
Yeah, I think, I don't know that I love Olaf versus specifically Yunara. With the ability to sort of dodge an axe as soon as that axe gets thrown down. If you miss, you just get ran away from, and it's not too much of a problem. Obviously, the Lulu will be able to give movement speed over to carries as well, which is why I think that Lulu, not necessarily the best answer versus an Olaf, obviously, but definitely not the worst in that support role to be able to manage it. But it's a 5v5 composition for Top Esports that wants to get scaling, wait till that late game. WE, it's a get going early or go game 3.
Hey, they've been doing pretty good at getting going early. Not in that game 1, but throughout their run against BLG and AL, two of the most storied teams that have existed in the LPL over the last 2 years. Top Esports, that last remaining champion of a split of the last year in the upper bracket still. WE going to try and even this series up against them.
Yeah, game number 2 here between Top Esports and WE. Eyes once again on those junglers to see who can get the ball rolling. The Vi, definitely weaker in the early stages of this one. And Monkey does have one play so far on the Olaf. It was a win, and we'll see if he can repeat that success in game number 2.
You know, Rude, for a team that has not had a lot of success over the last few years, still lots of WE fans out there. One of the most storied organizations in the league's history, obviously. They've been around for quite some time, but they have not made an international in quite some time. The last time they did that, which could happen today if they end up going into MSI, was 2017 when they made both Worlds and MSI as the #1 seed. That roster including players like 957, Kandi Shie, who's actually on the cast today for the LPL broadcast, and maybe no surprisingly, picked WE to win the series.
worked a lot with a team that they've already sent down as well. Was the positional coach for WE when Shanks was on the roster, if not mistaken. So definitely a little bit of homegrown favoritism there by ZA, but not a problem. We're all here for it, as the bot lane already getting quite aggressive and actually favoured the push there down on the bot side for top esports. Maybe not what we would have expected to see, but it's the position we find ourselves in all the same. Level 2 is going to come on through though now for Aha and About, and that should start to even up the playing field. Obviously, a Corki's HP bar is only as low as a Nami's mana bar, and I think that the healing and the sustaining that can come through from the Nami means that these longer winded trades tend to be favourable for the Corki, for the Nami.
Yeah, you said that potentially the Yunara Lulu could struggle in the early game, but so far Jackie Love and Fengwei getting the early push, sending this cannon wave underneath WE's tier 1 turret. Both junglers pathing down towards the bottom lane, but Monkey actually going to skip his Gromp to go for an early play towards mid. Cream does have both of his summoner spells up, but Karis has a stun available, not going to be able to land it just yet. And it looks like that stun could be a little bit too far forward. Monkey gonna continue the dive. This is a very dangerous play, and Cream will pick up first blood. Karis will then have to flee with double-digit HP.
Blazer.
And Cream with one more death ray should be able to do it. The Scorch and the Death Fire will not be enough, and Karis will live.
Monkey's just lost his mind. There's no excuse for that. I mean, trading 1-for-1 might be good in the worst of instances. But you've just given over double buffs to a Victor, plus 25 stacks, double crab to TN. This is, again, WE needed to get the ball rolling early, and they've just given over the massive advantage.
Oh, no.
Level 4 now to level 3. Smite available for TN.
And Monkey does not have his. Instead, TN going to look for Karis, who ends up teleporting back into mid. Does force TN away, so Monkey will at least be able to equalize the crabs, hit level 4, but that was not the start that W were looking for. You'd think, Rude, after burning the Victor's flash, they'd be happy enough to back away and go for that play again in a couple of minutes.
You would, and I don't think you'd be forgiven for thinking that either, but such is the way that the Monkey mind works, that he feels confident to go for that. Barrier burned down on the bot side. I think if About trades back with Barrier, then he'd be actually able to get some damage down, ends up losing a lot of damage to try and save that summoner spell, but yeah, a good advantage there picked up by the top esports bot side. You can see Cream now so much better off in this mid lane. In case Victor versus Annie wasn't hard enough for an Annie, first of all, notoriously a really easy matchup for the Victor. You can keep the Annie at range, you put the gravity well down. Now with double buffs and an extra kill in his back pocket, this is, I mean, if Karis can do anything this game, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, already 3 points in that death rain. It's starting to hurt for Karis, who does not have the same level of wave clear compared to what the Victor is able to put out at this point in the game as well. Already down 2 waves of CS. Could be some more as another one crashes underneath his tower. Cream is level 6, and Karis is a couple minions away from 5. This is a mid gap at this point. Maybe not all Karis' fault, for being honest.
Yeah, this one, you know, very frequently I'm happy to say, hey, you know what, you struggled in this lane for your own transgressions. This time round, this was not his fault. I'm just going to put that one out there. So, Cream going to have to, well, I think carry this game, or we start to question whether or not he has been that growing, developing player that we've seen from him in this year. But I think Cream, you know, for all of the slating that suggests and goes his way, I think he's going to be able to do exactly that. I think this game now becomes a lot more difficult for WE with a Victor so far ahead of the curve. And again, this is a composition where, as WE, you needed to be winning early, and they are fundamentally not.
A lot of pressure now lies on Monkey to try and repay for the sins that he committed in the mid lane just a few minutes ago. He's down here bottom lane, and will be matched with TN in the Tri-Brush, who pops a control ward to make sure there's no enemy vision. Arha will match the same, and everybody now knows where everybody is.
Oh my god, About, hello.
About. He valks forward, gets polymorphed, and then knocked up here by the Q of TN. We thought we said everybody knew where they were, but About seemingly had a little bit of selective blindness in that situation. Now Cream going to get targeted down, already has the Arcane Storm out, and Monkey is ticking dangerously low. Fengwei flashes forward and will secure the kill. Cube running from the top lane to make an impact here with the World Ender. Goes on to Jackie Love, but he flashes himself, and it's a 1-for-0 in favor of top esports for now. Q2 about to come through from Q, but it does not land as there's just not enough range that W are able to play with.
All right, chalk it up. Let's go game 3. This one's done, and this is a one fight for top esports down on the bot side in a 5 versus 4. Now Zweon, Secret Agent Scion here, actually dodges all of the vision, makes his way out, and Cube losing out on a cannon wave on the top side, a full wave before that. You could tell it was desperation, the fact that Cube is down there, the fact that he's sacrificing the potential lead that he can get in the top side just to stop the snowball from top esports, and ultimately that doesn't happen and the snowball gets bigger anyway.
Not the start that WE was looking for. TN onto the Hextech Dragon as well. They should be able to secure this one for free. Top esports are off and rolling like they have been for the remainder of this playoffs.
Okay, so all focus onto Cream here is good, but Cube misses a Q1 there, which allows him to get out, breaks the tether, and then he flashes his Q here. Just completely dodge it, like completely doing the work for Cream. Stops himself from getting the reset, and it's a really big misplay here by the WE top laner. Costs himself a kill and a reset and maybe a chance at getting back into this one. Definitely a chance at game number 2 now. And the thing is for top esports, this one needs to be over in 25 minutes for better or for worse. So their objective is keep fighting, keep doing these things that are going to look bad. Because the game gets no easier for them. And as top esports, they can just sit back and relax and, well, if we end up finding a couple of kills, then amazing. If we do nothing and they do nothing for 25 minutes, then we're going to win the game anyway. So it's a win-win for top esports.
If there is one thing we know about WE, though, is that they like to come back from situations that were perhaps thought to be uncomebackable from. Getting the grubs for Monkey is a good start to that comeback plan, but still a lot more work to be done, especially because a dive could open up here in the bottom side. TN, wait for that cease and desist to be used. About is joined up by Arha, but they're between both of their towers right now and losing CS by the minute.
Smite goes down, Gromp picked up. And what's happening on the other side of the map? Well, there's a good amount of vision on the top side. Yes, WE did secure those grubs, which I think is the very, very thinly veiled silver lining behind what is a massive cloud of despair in this second game. So hopefully if they can get access to turrets, they'll be able to take maybe a plate or 2 extra than they might have been able to do previously. But Cream's already got that Q upgrade. Really in a good spot to kite out Karis, make sure that he's nice and safe with an extra shield as well.
Biggest goal deficit still in the mid lane as Cream continues his tremendous playoff run so far. Obviously getting that first blood, getting a little bit of help from Monkey in a weird twisted way. But still a lot left to be done for Cream and the rest of TES. They have definitely had the number of Team WE so far this season. Maybe not in these playoff situations. I'm sure players like Cream remember very fondly of what happened to them just about a year ago.
We'll see whether or not WE can wrestle some semblance of a comeback into this game, into this series, but I mean, this game feels pretty far removed from an opportunity to find a win already. 0-2 on the Olaf for Monkey. Maybe on those first items is your best bet to try and find a way back in, as now Zweon breaks the tether.
Yeah, there's an unstoppable onslaught onto Cube. Combined with the ultimate here for TN, should be easy pickings for TES. They go up to a 3-0 kill lead as Zweon gets on the board.
Cease and desist, first utilization by TN works out well, and they take down Cube on the top side. Monkey there to watch, might be able to pick up a wave and might actually look for a fight after the fact. There's a TP in and a TP straight back out by Zweon. Really good to see that he can escape.
You see WE still looking for plays. Not necessarily successful, but you'll take at least a summoner spell out of Zweon. It was a good thought for Monkey. Wait for TN to head back to base and then find your time to strike. But unfortunately, the teleport had other ideas, and so now, some awkward lane setups right now, and WB aren't going to be super happy about this because neither of their solo laners have that role quest completed yet.
It's the same thing across the board. Looks like it's going to be probably Zweon or Cream taking over to their role quest first, but That then opens up for a good amount of flexibility. Malignant's picked up for Karis here. He's got the brown bags on his feet, so going to be needing to work his way towards those tier 3 shoes nice and quickly after this. But this is about the time that I'd like to see WE look for something else, to be completely honest. Drake spawns in 40 seconds. If they don't get that, they don't really have a win condition for the game to go later. And the fact that they had to concede the first dragon is a pretty big indicator for failure of their composition, so if they don't find the second, it just gets worse and worse. And again, Top Esports, they're quite happy to sit back and do nothing. They'll take the freebies in the top side when they've got them. But outside of that, what is it that WE need to do? It's continue battering their head against the wall, try and make something happen. Hexplate now picked up for Monkey as well, so I think this is as good as it gets.
Yeah. I mean, everybody on TES has their first items completed. Not the case for Cube or About, who are going to have to be big players in a potential team fight around this second dragon that has now spawned. W playing the vision game around the bottom side. Tribrush TN going to have to face check eventually. It looks like for now, no blood will be shed as the dragon is started up by Monkey.
Oh, good flash by Fongyue. Didn't even have vision, just walks up and flashes away immediately. Now no Tibbers. Yeah, it's going to be a zoning tool. Here goes Dwayon.
Yeah, already forcing 2 flashes out of the WE bottom lane, and the rest of the front line is melting to the might of Jackie Love. He gets kill number 1 onto Karis. Monkey has to flash away. About now stuck in a 1v1 that he does not like the odds of. Got a little help from Fongyue, but Jackie Love gets the double of the same. 2 for nothing, plus the Dragon. Top Esports running away with this second game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a pretty swift one from here on out. Cream feels so confident this game. He's been able to go Proto Belt first item, which is, you know, no mana, just vibes. And he's able to get his way through safety quite easily here. First stack on that Dark Seal, and I can imagine that that's going to get quite well stacked up this game. Take another look at this. Fongyue.
It's an incredible
what actually
reaction.
happens here? I don't think it's a reaction. Oh, it is. He gets the ward down and then immediately flashes out. So it's ward down, hands on the flash key, and then immediately straight out to safety. Dwayon knows, hold on, we are so much stronger, and we've got a pincer. Flashes out from About and Aha, separate this into a 2 versus 5 in the pit, one that Karis just has no chance in. One that Monkey has to flash away from. And then Jackie Love knows his strength, knows that with the Lulu in his back pocket, it's a 1v1 he's easily able to take.
So getting some more kills for Jackie Love too. Everybody's eating on this TES composition. As we're not even 15 minutes into this game, already a 4,000 gold lead nearly, belonging to our higher seed on the day. Top Esports can smell that trip back to an international because they had that top 4 finish at Worlds last year. Going to try to repeat some of that success, this time in a mid-season form.
You take a look at the differences in the roster as well. I think that many Top Esports fans would have expected their return to international to be so soon. Obviously, they had a rough situation in split number 1 where they were somewhat forced out of their opportunity to get to international, and now in split number 2, looks like with Tien coming into this team, they're going to find it. They're going to find their way back to the international quite quickly with 2 rookies at the helm. Dwayon, one of those, now under fire in this bot side, but he's absolutely fine.
Yeah, Olaf and a Corki not going to be able to do much to a Scion that already has an enemy spare and a Bramble Vest. Might be able to do some stuff to Cube, though, on the other side of the map, as Jackie Love goes on a killing spree with the help of the rest of his team. Monkey has popped the Ragnarok and looking to answer in the bottom lane onto Dwayon. He gets hit up by the tidal wave, but there's just not enough damage to be issued onto this top laner just yet. The red buff not going to finish it, as Dwayon pops the Soul Furnace for good measure.
Yeah, just walk it out, no stress, no harm, no foul, and they take down Cube on the top side. They don't lose Dwayon on the bot side. They find the Herald as well. They've got both dragons. Like, at this stage in the game, Top Esports are just sitting pretty. They are laughing, really. With the composition that they've got, the scaling advantages that they have, this game's already over, to be completely honest with you, Grapes. We need to look toward game number 3. We need to look towards WE. I mean, if there was ever movie magic to get them to MSI, it is a reverse sweep.
Yep.
So maybe that's what's on the cards.
And if we pull up, Shivam, our producer, the previous lowest seeds graphic again for Team WE, remembering that they were the 7th seed back in 2021, that was a roster that had players like Shanks and Elk, nearly able to make it all the way to Worlds from that split, but losing multiple best of fives in a row to avoid being able to make it back to that world stage. WE hoping to avoid that fate 5 years later, although it's not looking good so far, at least in the upper bracket finals. Wayana teleporting for an extra shield to try to survive this dive. It worked pretty well last time in the bottom lane. Will it happen top? He just uses the Q to clear the whole wave and is able to ult that, force the flash out of Karis. It is 3 members of Team WE here to try to chase the Scion down. They'll eventually get back into the driver's seat, at least in the kill department, with the kill going over to the Annie, but it took a lot longer than they would have liked, and it's going to result in plates falling in both mid and bot.
I mean, it might not just be plates here. Tier 2 turret going to fall down on the bot side at the hands of Cream. Many plates, as you highlighted, falling in the mid lane as well. And this Victor's just getting absolutely leveled up. Level 13 versus Karis, who is currently level 10. Ugh. Just ticks over to level 11. But this Victor is just something that I don't think WE have got the ability to take down. And that's in isolation. If we include Feng Yue shielding, Tien peel, Jackie Love damage as well. Yeah. I mean, we know where this game's going, let's be honest.
So remember in the pre-show when we did the worst trade deals in history?
Yeah.
We talked about Arha going from Weibo to WE. That might have topped the list. Right
it's
there.
Definitely up there.
Two towers for one lowly kill on to Zoyan that took 3 players on WE to even barely get a hold of.
All right, great.
And now Team WE further in the backseat with this
10 seconds on an Ocean Dragon. It's sole point for top esports if they take it. The exact opposite of the situation that it should be. But it's WE that need to fight. They need to be here. They need to get involved. Cube's got TP. He's going to go back to base. Let's look at the items. We've got gold on about, but no Muramana finished just yet. But, I mean, yeah, how do you even get in?
Yeah, they burn the TP for Cube, so maybe WE feel like they have to respond, but they just don't have the time to. Instantly, it's sole point for TES and a flash burn from Arha with the unstoppable onslaught going forward for Zwayon. Top esports are rather far forward. The Aqua Prison going to slow the Scion down for now, but he's still very tanky with his unending despair and will be able to get out scot-free.
Just does no damage, unfortunately. I mean, 2-item Corki, probably the apex of his power. Tien dashing forward here, Monkey getting absolutely obliterated.
Oh,
a TP behind.
Shield to stay alive. There's teleport all the way in the back for Karis, but he's way too far away at this point, and Tien knows that the numbers advantage now belongs to them. Cease and desist onto Cube to make it a 1-0, and about is chunked down to 40% underneath his own tier 2. Karis has to pretty embarrassingly head back to base after an aggressive teleport, and Top Esports win another fight.
He just TP'd into the blue buff. And then walked top, didn't even clear a wave. I don't quite know what that TP was looking to accomplish. Maybe try and get some more gold, work towards getting your proto belt so that you've got some semblance of a way back into a fight of sorts. But it's going to be tricky for WE. That's the short answer here. As Cube walks forward, ends up getting caught out by a nice little assault and battery, or cease and desist as it is now. And then just about able to get away. Good bubble from Arha, worth mentioning. Not having a disastrous game on the Nami. Feels like the top side of this map really fell before the bot lane did, but
yep.
What is the Nami supposed to do this game when my Olaf has dove level 3 onto a Victor who doesn't die?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that play, and I think rightfully so. It is literally the reason that we are in this spot right now. Yeah. The domino effect has fully rolled over, and those dominoes all stacking in favor of Top Esports because of it. 7-1 in kills, 5,000 in gold, 3-0 in dragons, everything going their way at this point.
You know, I wonder if Monkey had the same reaction as I did when that happened, you know? Okay, go next. Just like flip the game, level 3 for no reason. And then he goes, okay, that'll do me. Thank you so much. Because that's the brutal honesty of this, is that when you do something like that, it causes so many problems. Either way, though,
fair, it was working out for WE the last 2 rounds. Monkey would just flip the game, and it would always go up heads. This time, though, it's been tails for the last couple of games.
Well, I'm here for the reverse sweep. You know, you can't win a series 3-2 without losing 2 games. So this is just WE getting those games out of the way. You know.
Yeah, as you mentioned, if you want a story that could be turned into an anime adaptation in a couple of years,
Yeah.
You need the reverse sweep here. So maybe the scriptwriters have something planned out for us here in the
When
upper
everybody
finals.
doubted them, we thought they were doing so much work. They beat
get a
BLG, they beat AL, then they get to their easiest opponent, quote unquote, in top esports. But oh, okay. Thought we were going to see a Tibbers there. We didn't. And when the chips were down, they lost 2 series or lost 2 games. That's when Monkey unleashed the Super Saiyan.
Yeah, the motivational speech is going to go crazy, potentially. But maybe it happened in game. As WE still looking for fights because that's all their composition knows how to do. At this point, we got the Dragon Soul spawning in a minute 20. And for now, WE, I think they just want to pull this Baron and force something here.
Yeah.
Okay, they definitely thought about it and then maybe decided against it. Perhaps smartly.
They have to, though. There isn't a good way of taking a fight. I think their best option is make top esports struggle and like make them think, because at the minute everything that they've thrown at them is pretty vanilla, pretty simple. Why not when I'm 5k gold down? Why don't I flip a Baron? You know, well, you're not going to expect that. It's the sucker punch that maybe they're not anticipating here. Either way, it's not going to be easy for WE. Their one sort of bright spot currently is that Cube is 600 gold up over Zwayon. Is that Aatrox going to be able to deal with Cream, Jackie Love through Lulu? No, it's absolutely not. But it might be able to handle a Sion in a 1v1.
Is that enough, though? I don't know. I don't think that they know either. As we have now.
Well, I think they do know.
I think
that's
it's not
problem.
good. It's not a yes, is I think the answer here. Top Esports certainly feeling good as they send a teleport into the mid lane for Zwayon to make sure they are at their peak strength for this Ocean Soul about to spawn. He thought Zwayon was harder to kill already. Think about what could happen if he gets that Ocean Soul. Poke him about as good as the chunks Feng down to 60%. WE have already started up this dragon. TN has won a lot of 50-50s in this series so far. He could pull out another one here in this second game. Death Blazers here for Cream dishing out a lot of damage, and Zwayon still basically untouched at this point. A big rocket only doing a few hundred damage at this point.
I mean, they need to just hit the dragon here. Like, the longer that they wait, the worse this is. They're getting chipped down by the ocean, and Top are just going to take the fight.
There's an unstoppable onslaught. Zwayon sends all of WE back, and that means that Top Esports can finish the dragon themselves. It'll be secured by Jackie Love with the final auto at 16 HP. And TES have gotten the soul and could be looking for more. Karis is digging down as Jackie Love has been transcended and ascended into God mode. It is 10-1 in favor of TES as they win the fight and claim the Ocean Soul.
Yeah, they'll claim Baron off the back of this as well. Cube, I don't think he dies to the Aatrox here, but or dies as the Aatrox, but I do see on the minimap. Yeah, there's a Victor. Flash away from Cube, maybe just to buy time, but the 3-man band of Tien, Jackie Love, and Feng Yue are all taking this Baron anyway. Cube just taking Cream on a wild magical mystery tour right now, and maybe he'll live.
It's been dying to take Cube away, but he will end up going back to his own base at this point, I believe. The Baron melting down Arha. Can he pull out the miracle? If he steals this game, they're going to come back. Okay. Didn't end up happening.
No, I truly believe. Oh, wait, Cream's found Cube? Never mind, didn't find him fully. We thought about it, though. Flash auto from the Nami could have stole the Drake, maybe. Yeah, we are full cope right now. Yeah, Top Esports have got this game. Let's take a look at the replay for this one. Unfortunately, you need to just start wailing onto this Drake, because as soon as Top Esports are in this position, they can engage whenever, and that's the crux of this, is that Top Esports should really just engage any fight. Like, they're so far ahead, it doesn't really matter. There are 3 people caught in the Victor ulti here that are all getting zoned away. They can't walk through it, so the dragon falls immediately. And at this point, Tien, he gets stunned, and Jackie Love flashing over bubbles, just going, guys, can we please take a fight? I'm itching to get in there as this Yunara. Finally they do. Now he's 3 items deep. Okay, we've got a stun. We've got a wave.
Tidal wave. There's Tibbers as well. Okay, that's the Guardian Angel being popped by Tien, and the rest of his team nowhere to be seen at this point. The Valk's going to do a little bit of extra damage, but Tien flashes away. Allows for Zwayon to enter the picture and land a 3-man decimating smash. Teleport coming in from Cube as a fight has broken out, but they're playing on the wrong side of the map at this point. Jackie Love still untouched on the backline. Picks up kill number 1. Ragnarok not going to do enough, and it's a double kill in for the Yunara. WE looked for Tien, they got his Guardian Angel, but they lose 2 in response.
Yeah, and they look to do emotional damage here to WE. They could have just taken a top inhib and been absolutely fine. 1v3 now.
Stun onto Cream, but Cream does a lot of damage himself. Will be a shutdown to go the way of Karis, and so WE get back on the board. The rest of the base not so lucky though, as it now is cancel time for TN as he enters into a 1v3. He will go down, but that will be enough time for the inhibitor to be bursted down in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is definitely emotional warfare at this stage, because both of TN and Cream fully chucked themselves into the fire there. They knew they were going to die. And chose to go for that anyway, all to secure an inhibitor. I fully believe that on TN's side, the inhibitor was already secured. I don't think he needed to do that, but he did it for the love of the game anyway. But they have got the mid lane inhibitor. They've got an 8k gold lead. They've got a better scaling team. Why can't they have a little bit of fun in a game that's already done?
Why not? And you know what? If you're WE, just keep trying, I guess, at this point.
Doesn't get better.
Again, we've seen these kind of miracle comebacks. They come from these sort of situations. But just given how this trajectory of this one has gone so far, seems hard to imagine a world where Top Esports do not open up a 2-0 series lead, potentially get themselves up to that grand final. About has finished his 3rd item and has hit level 14. Problem is, Jackie Love has a 4th item.
Yeah.
So not really a strength there either.
No, he's relatively close to level 15 as well. Okay, we're going back to an age-old classic. Ocean Soul versus Scion.
Okay, hey, can't generate the Ocean Soul if you get one shot. And so, nice job by WE. They play the Fnatic Rush, and they're able to get a singular kill. But there's no objectives to really fight over at this point.
Do Top Esports take a 4v5 anyway? Just for the sake of it, you know? That's what I'm thinking right now, as they have got
talking about mental damage. That could certainly be the case here. World Ender already popped by Cube as Jackie Love is tremendously powerful on this Yunara already. A heal has been popped for WE to try and escape, as Top Esports are still bullying this team in a 4v5 situation. Monkey looking to try to make a trade onto Cream. He pops the Ragnarok as a last-ditch effort, but is sure to be bursted down before he even takes Cream to 50%. TN makes it a 1-for-1 in the extended play, and WE are back on the run.
Yeah, they need to walk out as a 5-man unit there, and unfortunately the second they get even slightly separated. The fight's all too easy for Top Esports. Now Zweon has TP, they're just probably going to dart it into the bot lane. They've got a wave already prepped down there. Cream takes a little bit of damage from the Corki autos, but dodges out on a couple of rockets and a frost bomb to keep himself safe. And the Ocean Soul constantly churning as well. He'll be able to work his way back up to full HP within not too much time at all. The inhibitor falls for Top Esports. Second wave crashes at the same time as the bot one. Nexus turret's now up for the chopping block.
They sent the TP in for Zweon, so WE going to have to try to defend right now as Top Esports want to end this game here. Monkey has respawned, does not have the Ragnarok available, but it might not matter here for TES. Into Zweon, forcing him down to half. Knockup lands onto Monkey, and Jackie Love nearly one-shots him. He goes forward and kills Arha instead, and the Wild Growth will keep him nice and healthy until their game just ends. It is a triple kill going the way of the Yunara. The Nestix explodes, and TES taking us to match point.
And in much similar fashion now to how we saw Top Esports really dismantling WE in the regular season. The kryptonite of WE so far in this Split 2 has been Top Esports. They've not lost a single game, let alone a series, to WE. And they're keeping us on that track here. WE drafted themselves into a hole. They had a very clear identity, a very clear condition for success. And it failed within 2 minutes. So from there, this game, we could have told you, we did pretty much tell you, hey, you know what? Top Esports, let's put it to a match point. Now we need to see that resilience that we talked about at the end of game number 1, that we have to talk about again at the end of game number 2, to see whether or not WE have got anything left in the tank after such a glorious run through the upper bracket. Well, let's see if they've got a little bit more of that sauce in them to do it against Top Esports as well.
You talked about how, you know, for WE, playing against BLG, playing against AL, winning those series, a lot of how they ended up doing that was through chaotic play. They made their opponents uncomfortable. It seems like Top Esports has soaked in all of that tape, observed all of the intricacies of what Monkey and his squad have been doing, and have downloaded all of that and are now punishing the Team WE strategy that has worked so well for them through the first 2 rounds of this postseason bracket.
Yeah, the sort of try and make something crazy happen and see what works out off the rest of that. I think that for Top Esports, they've found a pretty good answer thus far. And honestly, in this game, I'm thinking, well, who am I looking at for my player of the game? Who am I looking at for my MVP? I don't particularly know that anyone on Top Esports outside of Jackie Love probably going to get any nods. He had a really solid performance, but it's mainly just because WE lost the game themselves.
Yeah, the MVP might be Monkey for Top Esports after that level 3 play.
Yeah.
I thought Cream played well. Again, he was kind of spoon-fed an early advantage and was able to grab us
in a winning
the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But he has been a good performer for TS during the playoffs so far. I think my MVP vote, though, does go to Jackie Love, having some tremendous team fights by the end of that one.
Absolutely. And we'll hope to see that he can find a MVP first off, hopefully finds a second one as well. A very solid performance from the Unara. It's one thing to get all of those resources, it's another to be able to see them over the line. And you can see there, it's Cream who does a large amount of damage actually, 35k in a 29-minute game, over 1000 damage per minute. Never a bad stat to be having as a mage. But Jackie Love coming to life in those team fights. Definitely a really good power point for Top. And like we said, this is a game that was... we can take a look at the jungler score from WE and kind of know what happened in this one.
Yep, just kept growing and growing in terms of the deficit that Monkey ended up facing. I think we're going to get that early play to start this off. Again, just burn the flash, not the worst thing, and you can just run back up to,
He also autos the turret here. He autos the turret, which I don't think is the thing that takes it over the line anyway. But it just makes it even worse. Like, it makes your job so much more difficult when you're missing out on some of that damage. And then, obviously, this is where Cube has a bit of a stinker as well. Missing the Q1 gives Cream a free out. Flashing to Nani with Q3. Ooh. Yeah, lots of problems there.
I think I missed that the first time. Yeah, that was not pretty by Cube. Not pretty really for anyone on Top Esports. Or for W, I should say. They went for that fight while Kars did not have ulti and Cream did. And I think that was also a big reason as to how that one unfolded. I don't know, if you're Team WE, kind of have to keep playing with this aggressive playstyle, but that playstyle has kind of been reduced to gimmicks at this point. It's a lot of death brushes, and that's really been the only thing that has worked for them so far in this game.
Maybe that's what they're going to have to do going into the next one here. Let's see if that's their angle of approach. Is it just make things a little bit volatile? See if that's your success strategy. I mean, they tried it in this game too. Yeah, not too...
like we saw there.
Not too flash under the turret level 3 volatile,
Yeah. I mean, not really much else to talk about with this game. Dominated by Top Esports from start to finish. W didn't even have that semblance of a comeback opportunity like they did in Game 1, like they have throughout most of this postseason so far. It's very it's fascinating to see the kind of difference in the look that we've seen from this team, even from just their last matchup against AL, which was a 3-0 in their favor. Yeah,
absolutely. Just the disparity in this WE versus like 3 or 4 days ago WE, where they looked like a completely different beast, and now they look like a shell of themselves. Like, honestly, like the beginning of the Split WE, where they spent, was it 14 games? Maybe 16 games without a game win, let alone a series win. So yeah, it's a very strange position, really, to be in, because we talked about this at the end of the regular season, that okay, WE aren't winning series, but they're looking better, they're winning games, and then they have a sort of 5-game series up against LNG. They secure themselves a spot in Ascend again for next Split, which was the bare minimum, I feel like, for this composition of players, and I think for most people was probably the top end of what we expected from them. Then immediately take down BLG, take down AL, and now we're thinking, well, the sky must be the limit for these guys. It turns out Top Esports looks like the limit here.
At least for now, and there's only really one way for this to be escaped by WE, and that is through a reverse sweep. Jackie Love winning player of the game, 9-0-4 on the Unara in the bottom lane. It's going to happen. It's going to have to happen in our next game. WE at the brink of being sent down to the lower bracket. Top Esports just one game away from a trip to Wuhan for the grand finals. We'll be right back in a few short minutes here on LPL English. Back here at LPL English for game number 3 of our upper final of Split 2 in 2026. Rude, this could go a couple of different ways. This could be our last game of the day, Top Esports clean up a sweep, make their way to the grand finals, or it could be the start, or the continuation, I should say, of one of the greatest stories that we've seen in Chinese League of Legends in a number of years. WE have captivated a global audience over their recent upsets, and what better of a way for that story to continue than with the reverse sweep?
Yeah, you know, they've got, they found themselves with four teams ahead of them that I don't think we were anticipating they'd really win. As such, they now have beaten 2 of them, and then if they make it to the upper finals, this is the upper finals. If they make it to the grand finals even, Lord knows what WE fans' conception of the LPL will be. Obviously, the LPL, currently the strongest region in the world with our first stand victory. If our first seed is WE, that screams fear. The best team in the world is WE. That might put fear into the eyes, the hearts of everybody around the world. It's been a long time since we could say that unironically, but you know, that's a very thin currently possibility based on the way this series has gone.
9 years since WE have made it to an international stage again. They were actually a very good team in 2017, taking down a lot of our North American representatives, I should say. Back in 2017, both TSM and C9, I think, fell to them in best of 5s internationally. So not too happy about that, but that's my last memory of Team WE at an international stage, and maybe they're going to try to add some stories, but still a lot of work to be done. I think for them as well, this series is the one to win, right? Because it's against TES. If you drop down to the lower bracket, you're going to be playing up against either a BLG or an AL that is angry about losing to you just a couple of days ago. And you have to imagine they're going to come out swinging.
It's not angry to losing to you as much as it is sort of embarrassed that they lost to you as well, because that's the kind of impression that you would get from losing to WE, a 1-13 team that had to battle 5 games up against the Nirvana seed to even be here. Now, you know, the strength of Nirvana is obviously something else. We got to see that actually Nirvana, relative scale, not as far below Ascend as we might have thought, but the BLGs and the ALs will not have expected this. They'll not be expecting it, first of all, themselves to be in the lower bracket, and secondly, to have been sent there by Team WE of all people.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that WE have caused this much chaos in the bracket already, it'd be a bit of a shame to see them miss out on a chance to go to MSI after already taking down 2 of the teams that we perceive to be some of the best that we have in China at this point. It kind of goes back to Top Esports though, Rude. They're up 2-0 in this series, and I feel like the perception of them over 2025 was that they were maybe the 3rd best team in the LPL, right? It was AL and BLG kind of at the top. But when you take a look at the resume and the records, they won a championship in spring. That was tied for the most. Everyone else just won 1. They made it to 2 finals. AL and BLG did the same. And they also did the best out of any of them at Worlds. They made it to top 4. So Top Esports sneakily have had a pretty good run of things as of late. It just kind of is the reputation of them not being able to close things out on these international stages that continue to plague them. I think specifically First Stand is still ringing true in a lot of people's minds.
That's really what tanked Top Esports stocks moving into the majority of 2025 was that, you know, we're theoretically at that stage 2nd best region in the world, and our representative is nowhere to be found. So felt like there was a really big disappointment from the majority of the region as well, that the reps that we sent weren't amazing, and that has stuck with them. You know, just even looking at chat, looking at the community consensus is, you know, we send Top Esports to international, we know what we're getting. It's heartbreak, it's misery, but I think realistically, Top Esports going here 2-0, currently looking like they're going to be our first team to book themselves a spot at MSI. They've improved, they've looked solid, and in this playoffs as well, they've really stepped up as well. If they do go as our first seed, I think that's going to be a really big ticker to indicate some growth and hopefully indicate that they can develop and do better in an international setting.
Yeah, last time they went to MSI was as the 2 seed in 2024. Cream and Jackie Love, of course, still with the team. And Tien was also with the roster after, you know, having his hiatus back with Weibo in 25, back with the team in 2026. So a large chunk of that roster hoping to make it back to international play again at the midseason mark.
So Ash Seraphine both up and available here, looking across the rest of the picks that are there. They're going to look to split this up. Now, Seraphine does have some good pairings outside of the Ash, which we would expect to be taken away here by WE, unless they've got, they're going to go Lucian Milio and try and throw hands up against it. Looks like with the junglers focused as well, I mentioned at the top of the show, didn't expect Neferi to get taken by anybody, and that was just going to be a blanket ban for WE. We'll see what it is, because I think that for the WE side, they've put a lot of emphasis on giving Monkey that sticking power, the ability to make something happen early on. And then in that R5 pick from game number 2, it just didn't work. Maybe it's time to start flipping the script. Are we looking for somewhere else to have that R5 that can really warp the game?
I think the goal could have been to get last pick to Monkey, but if you have Ashe, Seraphine, and Xin Zhao all on the same team, that has traditionally been a formula where you win the game. And so WE trying to avoid that, they lock in the Xin themselves to take it away from Tien, Monkey's most played champion of this split. And so definitely very comfortable on the pick.
Now it's a question of what does Tien elect to take into that Xin Zhao. Has still got a little bit of time to be thinking about it. We know that the Ashe is going to get locked in here. We expect that the Milio is going to get locked in by WE on 3 as well. So they're going to start considering what sort of bans they want to throw towards top esports with an already very good team fighting composition picked up with the Ashe Seraphine. Maybe a little bit of poke coming in with the Jace as well. We want to try and take away from any of the poke in the future style or in the future of this one. Obviously, we've got the long range engage of an ECA and Encore over the top of it. Top Esports got a very good ranged composition thus far, and for WE, they need to find a way to get into it.
This Jace, one of the picks that put Zwayan on the map when he first debuted with TES at the start of this split. Could go to him, could go to a number of other lanes as well, if we've seen that flexibility throughout the league so far this year. Final pickup here for WE will be that Milio, as we said. The Solution Milio lane has been a good answer into this Ashe Seraphine, but Rude, this season, right?
Yeah.
Jackie Love 5-1 on the Ashe, Feng Yue 7-2 on the Seraphine. This is a very powerful duo, specifically in these guys' hands.
And obviously the Lucian Milio has that cleanse, but I think that pre-level 6 still can be a little bit difficult. Obviously it's taken into the Ashe Seraphine specifically, so we'd expect it to still be good for WE here down on that bot side. It's an area of the map that has been quite volatile through the early stages of the game. And now for WE, obviously trying to find a way back into this one. They need some of that late game insurance policy. They need something that's going to see them over the edge into that late game. Unfortunately, they've not got the hyper carry role available for that, so they might be relying very heavily on something from Karis, something from Cube. Maybe just a tank into the top side for Cube, and then R5 from Karis if he's got something spicy locked in his wheelhouse. The LeBlanc taken off the board, the Ari taken away as well, so some aggressive picks taken out. Looks like it's going to be a Control Mage blind here for Karis to try and take, and then looking to give Cube that R5 to save the game.
Cube sneakily has had a pretty decent, he had a decent game 1, maybe the game 2 not up to snuff, but has been somebody who has been locking in a little bit more in the postseason, playing against veteran, experienced top laners like Bin and Flandra so far in this upper bracket, and performing rather admirably in those situations. Gonna have that pool targeted though with the Cassante and Gragas both taken away. A flexible Aurora could be the answer to make sure that either side gets a matchup that they feel comfortable on.
Joint second most played here for Karis, excuse me. Definitely a pick that he's been relatively proficient on, relatively prolific on as well in terms of numbers of games played. But Top Esports going very, very aggressive with this composition. It looks like with the Twisted Fate, we've got no tank, we've got no frontline, and we're looking to kind of play on the very edge, the full limits of this composition, where if one person gets caught out, they probably die. We'll see if Top Esports are going to round that out with anything, or if Tien is, happy to bite the bullet a little bit in this one, take the tank that he needs to, and I say tank, more the frontline that he needs to in this game.
I'm going to say right now, this is a god comp from TES. I mean, maybe some of the nerfs recently have taken some of the strengths of these champions down a bit, but I feel like Top Esports overall got everything that they wanted. An incredible poke composition, one that can siege really well. You have Tian on one of his best champions in the Wukong, and WE are going to have to get a little bit weird and wonky as we see them lock in a Yorick on R5.
Now they have got obviously counterpicking that top side, and I will say, you know, the top esports composition doesn't have a true tank, but I think you're exactly right that they've got the sustain more than WE have. With that Seraphine, just scales so well into the late game as a mage that can give you healing, can give you CC, can do really everything that you need from an enchanter, and so much better than a Milio can. The Aha Milio has got one sole source of disengage in the kick, and then he can use the Breath of Life to get away from one piece of CC. But top esports have sort of tripled down in that aspect, and they've gone, well, we've got Encore, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and a gold card on repeat. So what are you going to do versus all of those in order to keep us at arm's length? And I think that the answer, unfortunately, for top esports, or for WE, is they're not going to do too much.
That early global presence from Cream on the Twisted Fate as well will be very important to try to help TES snowball what could be a good early game into a better late game to get them to that 3-0 series sweep. As WE is trying to avoid that, they're going to have to play very good, I think, particularly in the early game in order to make sure they do not fall too far behind.
Yeah, once again, another game that's sort of mandated by WE finding success early. An opportunity maybe for Cube to have a massive split push, but we will see as game number 3 loads up onto the Rift here.
Fans still active, representing their organizations. Will this be the final game of the day? Or will it be the start of something incredible? Could be something in between as well, depending on if this maybe the 4-game series. I don't know.
Yeah.
6-7. Happy 6-7 to all who celebrate and observe.
To all who observe is a crazy sentence. Everybody observes 6-7. It's the rogue ones that celebrate it. That's the ruling here. It's already down on the bot side. E-start for about using it defensively to get away. Yeah, I've never been convinced by this Lucian Milio counter down on the bot side. I know it takes a couple of levels before it actually starts singing, but once it does, it can work, but level 1 is not that window.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because against Ash Seraphine, from level 1, you are extremely strong, as we see. The volley plus that extra damage from the Q of Feng Yue just makes it so difficult for this short-range Lucian to do anything until he gets a couple of levels into his own right. And for a 3rd straight game, we see top esports shoving in an early wave and really gaining priority over this bottom side.
For the first game here, Monkey not going to just dart it mid after, you know, a few camps being skipped. So we'll see. Maybe he's going to skip his Gromp again and go for another play. But
yeah, don't speak too soon.
Yeah, this is a game once again where WE need to win early. All right, let's not mince our words here. We need to see them find an advantage early on and then look to snowball that. Otherwise, the scaling aspect that top esports have, this poke that top esports have, is really going to hurt.
And take a look at who needs to carry for WE throughout their playoff run. It has been Monkey. This guy's stats in the playoffs entering today have been incredible. Today, they have not been. So if WE wants to get wins, it's going to have to be through their jungler on his most played champion of the season. Very slow, actually, on this full clear, just being the Xin Zhao, using 2 smites and still being late to this Scuttle Crab from Tian.
He did take a recall to grab a longsword, and I guess that's to improve his combat power as we head towards top crab as well. Obviously, a little ward going down there, nice and easy to predict, or to see rather, where the Twisted Fate is going if there are any roams moving that way. But we've got all 3 spells now for both of our bot laners, and this is theoretically the time when the Lucian and the Milio can start to fight back.
Just barely, but they've already paid the price in terms of losing both of their potions on both About and Arha, and also being down 8 CS. Speaking of being down CS, the top side of the map not looking pretty for Cube either. This Yorick matchup, definitely one that scales a little bit better. The range versus melee early, not going to be favorable against Whale.
Not early on, at least. As you mentioned, will look better as it gets later.
Yeah.
I think moving forward, obviously, it's about Monkey finding those early plays, and it's a little bit of a catch-22 here because we've berated him for looking for plays early. And
oh, looks like Top Esports could find an early play onto About. Down to 100 HP. Saves the barrier, though.
It does save the barrier, and I again, this is what About has done quite consistently, but the evolution of bot lane has been preserve your HP, use the barrier. Because now he's got to go back to base anyway, and Jackie Love has barrier advantage, yes, as well as the heal for Fong about to come back up, but those are such short cooldowns that if it keeps you in a lane, then you should be using them. Now, as it is, About has to lose a full wave underneath his turret, and is going to miss out quite significantly in that experience department. But Top Esports already out the gate, nice and early, with a small advantage across the board. Remember that Twisted Fate passive is going to give you a little bit of a gold lead regardless, even just going even with your team. Star is able to slip away there from a nifty gank from Tien.
As Cream hitting level 6 first, we'll see if he uses that Destiny early on as the Dragon has just spawned. Feng Yue making an appearance mid as well, maybe just to help clear out this wave and get Cream a reset early on in this laning phase. Top Esports just on farm alone have already opened up a 1,000 gold lead, and the clock is ticking for Monkey to start to get active on this map and to bail some of his laners out.
First Dragon could well be the place that they go to. Obviously with the push down on the bot side, it's a temporary advantage that they have got. If About looks to push this, could be in trouble. No 6 for the Wukong does mean that the gank not that scary just yet. I think it's a fight over this bot crab and a fight to ding level 6. If Tien gets it, he will secure level 6 here. As looks like there's a good amount of posturing by both of these sides. Mid lane, it's Destiny available for Cream, so advantage in favour of Top Esports.
We've seen many a game be flipped over this crab. Looks like Top Esports actually going to give this one over to Monkey. He'll hit level 6 off of this most likely. Actually, he's a little bit far behind, but we'll get it off of his next camp, or maybe a minion in the mid lane instead. Speaking of the mid lane, Karis jumps in, lands the electrocute block on to Cream, and Monkey does eventually unlock his Crescent Guard.
Alrighty, well, you know what? Level 6 is picked up for both of our junglers as Tien, well, we're going to be able to get his Gromp and then his level 6. So Monkey just slightly ahead of the curve. I mean, and I say slightly, but the rest of his team definitely struggling here. And Monkey so far through the playoffs had been a really, really standout player, somebody that we were very excited to see. But unfortunately in this one has just not quite hit his stride in the way that we were expecting, in the way that he has so frequently in this playoffs so far. With a small gold lead and the burden of execution on his shoulders in this game number 3, in this do-or-die setup where the Miracle run through the upper bracket seemingly at risk.
Oh, bot lane though. Immediately play onto About. He pops the berry, but he gets gold carded by Cream, who comes forward with the Destiny. Traded back is Feng Yue, but it's only an execute. They did not hit the Seraphine a single time, and so the experience will go over, but not the gold.
So yeah, could be in trouble up on this top side. He is forced to flash by Cube, who on this Yorick has been able to weather the early game storm of the Jace, now actually pushing a decent lead in that 1 versus 1 in terms of those HP bars. I'll draw your attention to the items here. Zwayon not looking to go for combat with those items just yet. Has gone tier plus cull and still has a 20 CS lead over the Yorick.
Yeah, once you hit level 6, this is where the Yorick starts to have a little bit of extra power. You land a singular E onto the Jason. A lot of the HP bar goes away. The arrow from downtown is pure from Jackie Love. And Karis is going to try to make it a trade. Forces the flash out of Cream with Between Worlds and Monkey to join the picture. It was flashy, but nothing more than that for Top Esports.
Yeah, arrow hits, and that's good, but we didn't actually get to see the follow-up come through. Karis uses the W there to break vision as Cream's gold card does run out in that timer. Both our mid lane is TPing back to the mid lane as pretty synced on the push of those buttons, but now in the river, Monkey has started this one. Is Jackie who's going to have first move from bot?
Yeah, already a numbers advantage for top esports. TN going to go forward. This time Monkey wins the 1v1, but it's the wrong Monkey, and it's the one that belongs to top. Jackie Love gets the kill onto the Xin Zhao, and About will go down next. Carver splashes into the pit to try to get one kill back, but he should pay for it with his life. TN dashes over the wall. One final strike with his Q will seal a 4-1 scoreline for top esports.
It's another smite fight won by TN. He's just had the better read on Monkey on those neutral objectives pretty much throughout this entire series. So I'm going to add insult to injury by finding a little bit of free time to go and counter invade some chickens. He's going to lose a little bit of his HP for it, but it's again, the damage that's being done to Monkey in this game continues and continues to develop.
Felt good about that play for WE. Monkey thought he had a moment. Get onto a crucial carry to burst down Tian, but his team did not let it happen. Feng Yue on the Seraphine providing a lot of value, and it results in a 3,000 gold lead opening up at the 10-minute mark. This is not where TES want, or where WE I should say, want to be at all.
Yeah, and they focus so heavily onto Tian that just gives so much free time for Jackie Love, who's here first as well, to go for this. Maybe they're thinking that with a couple of crucial ultis not available, they can go for it, but About's dead again. But
back to the bottom lane, gold card, arrow, everything issued onto About. He flashes away, still able to survive. Cozy campfire from Arha will make sure that the Lucian lives to see another day, but that day will be spent underneath his tier 1 turret still, as top esports issuing pressure by pressure.
And, you know, Cream here on this Twisted Fate, really good mobility on the map. 4 assists for him thus far has been pretty instrumental in the leads that are being generated by top esports. Feng Yue and Cream both with that 100% kill participation. And yeah, About lives, but he lives underneath his turret, and now he has to just sort of dance around trying to get farm as best as possible. He's constantly under pressure of being taken out by just an errant skill shot landing. If a volley into an E-connect, that's probably enough to root him, and then a flash auto or a Q or anything to do the rest of the work.
Leon looking for a roam. Karis sniffs it out, ends up backing away. Cube starting to get going on this Yorick, but you take a look at the items, just a garage sale at this point. Nowhere close to a Trinity Force on this champion.
Hold on,
maybe
he's
some more
recalling
components when he resets, but it's going to be a while until we get a split pushing win condition here for WE.
Oh yeah, it's not looking good. I mean, you have to go for these plated steel caps up against the Jason, especially with the Wukong in the back as well. It's definitely good to get some double dipping on the armor early on. Means you're unlikely to be felled by a gank that comes on through unless you're way too far up. But we'll see if Cube can be that late game split push win condition that we need, because at this stage as well, we're starting to think, well, WE, we're pretty much getting to the end of where their early game power resides, and we're now waiting pretty much exclusively for a Yorick to start creating pressure and win on that side lane.
Yeah, because when top esports are grouped up as 5, going to be pretty good for them. As we get some 2v2 fighting down here, the press the attack doing a lot of damage onto Jackie Love, who also had to pop the barrier. Dragon in a minute 30. So Monkey getting some vision around that Scuttle Crab on the bottom side. Cube starting to do some work. And Zoyan's going to want to get out of this lane sooner rather than later.
Yeah, if that W lands, I actually think it's a solo kill for Cube. Flash wasn't quite available at that time, and maybe Storm Raiders Surge would have been able to get him out to safety after the fact, but Cube there. Smallness does mean that he loses out on a little bit there of a lead that he could have found for himself, as would like to actually see maybe an index into this Yorick. You know, who would have thought that start of this season we'd be thinking, if anybody's going to win this game and keep WE in the lead,
there it is, Flash Q! There it is, solo kill, in for Cube!
And yep, you know what? As I was saying, who would have thought that the lifeblood of WE, the one that's going to keep them in this upper bracket for the playoffs, would be Cube? Well, currently in this game, it is all him. Hopefully he can take the tier 1 turret as well, but looks like he's going to save that for another day. Not mess up the tempo too much. If he gets the Trinity Force off this base, then this could be the start of something truly magical for WE.
Gonna have to play through side laning, through picks. playing the macro game, which is never easy against a good team like Top Esports, especially one that has a twisted fate in the mid lane. But that is going to be the goal. It must be accomplished. WB want to stay alive in this best of 5 series. Dragon about to spawn. Monkey already eating a boatload of damage. Crescent Guard used, but it might be too late. That's a second proc of the Cyclone. Will seal his fate. A 2-man encore come through from Feng Yue. And the arrow once again from downtown. Arha will drop. Karis is next. And Top Esports will wipe another fight.
And Monkey here just throwing his life away by dashing over that wall. He takes far too much damage from the Trinity Force of Tien. Ends up going down in the 1 versus 2. And then Feng Yue, excellent encore flash, finds the other 2 members that are knocking around, Aha and Karis. Aha are able to limp away, or not necessarily falling there, but even still. It's Top Esports coming away with a second Dragon and a 5k gold lead.
You know, we had a lot of really one-sided early games for TES in this series so far. This might be the most at this point, as Top Esports looking dominant, except maybe in the top lane. But Zwayan is going to send his mid laner up to try to have that conversation reversed. Cube, Alcove Gaming at this point maybe can try to get one back. One more Q would have taken down Zwayan, but he's not able to get into range, and so Cream should be able to finish this off with the wild card.
Alrighty, you know, it was a little bit hairy there for a second, but fortunately enough, a 1-for-0 on the top side, and that's really all that they need. And Monkey here, he's out, he's got the knock-up, he's done the disengage thing, and then he just goes back in, and it's a pretty big disaster, to be completely honest with you. No reason for him to do that. Eyes on Feng Yue, though, look at this, channels his ulti, really good timing as well, goes in for the flash after the fact, catches both of them. Aha just about able to limp away off the back of this, it looks like, as throws up a kick. Tien doesn't quite find it, but if that's the saving grace in this one, it's not boding too well. And Cube falling on the top side also. You know, that one area of the map that might have been going well is now not. And that just adds further insult to the injury here for WE.
Yeah, he's winning the skirmishes, but it's still down 40 CS, and this Jace out of lane is going to be very, very good still for this TES composition. Tien waiting in a bush, but Monkey showing face to make sure that they do not engage into a 2v2. So Cube just going to shove this wave in and allow for WE to try to play somewhere else on the map.
It's quite nice.
Wow, he's
what's
still
not quite
here.
Nice is, yeah, well, the Tien is still just lurking around. The Spidey sense is tingling. I mean, Feng Yue is there as well. The bait.
Okay, it looks like they're really going hard for this one. Tien does not have a flash. They're just going to chunk out Cube with the accelerated shock blast. WE do have a numbers advantage now into the mid lane until the teleport comes in from Cream.
Yeah, you know, that's not nothing. They get an advantage picked up. It's mid lane TP. You know, Cream's already pushed a very sizable wave down to the bot side, so it doesn't cost them anything. It's not like that wave down on the bot lane isn't going to be picked up. Odds are somebody walks out to there. Looks like Zwayan is going to be the one who's just going to walk out bot lane, pick up the wave being pushed in by Karis. So nothing particularly lost here for Top Esports, but they now no longer have that ability to make the play. And I don't think that matters, right? We highlighted this at the top of the game. Top Esports probably scale better. They're probably not too obliged to make things happen currently in the game. So if they can just stay strong, do the almost bare minimum here, probably going to coast themselves to a nice 3-0 and what is a well-deserved spot at MSI. They've been incredibly consistent throughout this entire playoffs. Karis now spotted on his way in. But Top Esports have just been levels above everybody that they've played, and will be our rightful recipients of that the MSI spot even.
A lot of people maybe hesitant about Top Esports' chances to do well in this playoffs, especially after their rocky finish to the regular season, ending 2-4 over their final 6 matches. So far in the playoffs, it has looked nothing but golden. Speaking of golden, that could be a card that comes out here for Cream as he issues the Destiny. Tien steals away the red buff, is able to get away with the empowered blast gun.
Instead, it's Cream working his way nicely through that top tier 1 turret. Has flash, so Dark Procession not the biggest of threats right now. With a Rod of Ages and a Lich Bane, he's farming incredibly well. You see that 2.5k gold lead, and with a 7 CS difference, it's not like it's coming exclusively from the farm, but 2 kills, 5 assists, the turret platings as well. 100% kill participation for Cream in this one. He's done an incredible job at getting his team rolling and keeping himself ahead.
Probably Rapid Fire Cannon up next to add to that long-range engage that Top Esports already have. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, that's a global spell. TF Gold card with Rapid Fire feels close to it if you get to certain stages of the game. As TS still looking to fight in the mid lane, gain some priority before this dragon spawns in 30 seconds. If they can claim this Chemtech soul point, would be nigh impossible for WE to get back into this one and by the way of a soul.
Maybe it's just going to be a little bit of that Hail Mary energy from WE. Monkey goes in, gets a decent chunk onto Tien there, but with the Sundered Sky, probably going to be able to get that HP back up. There's some good damage comes in onto the bot lane of Top Esports, and maybe that's enough.
Okay.
Maybe that secures them a dragon here. The mid game of this composition, definitely not something to be snubbing your nose at. Walks forward threatening with a gold card, but again, WE, they've got this advantage, but they're not doing anything with it.
Looking for a fight instead of going for the dragon. Rift Herald popped in the mid lane by Tien. He's going to use it to immediately take down this first turret in the mid lane. And now drive into it until Monkey smites it away, but again, it's not the objective going over to WE. They thought they might have had an advantage with Jackie Love Chunk to half, but instead, they'll just regain control mid while everybody else on TES will be making their way towards Cube on the top side.
Looks like he's got flash available. Good dodge from Cream there. Can't wait on getting range. Dark Obsession goes up to stop it. Tien.
Okay. Nice flash.
Dropping over the wall does stop that. Falling comes down, and we'll see if this can actually result in a tier 1 turret falling for WE. But, I mean, with Destiny available, with Tien closing, WE lurk too long, they're going to find themselves in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, arrow lands on Akaris. He throws out the weirding, but it does not connect onto Jackie Love. Tier 2 turret on the top side, sure to go down as well. The saving grace for WE is they're able to deny the soul stack, at least for the moment, by picking up the Chemtech with the rest of Top Esports around the top side of the map. But now they turn their attention towards mid. Cyclone lands here for Tien. Another 2 knockups come through with the R2. About it to flash away, but he will be able to get the shutdown onto the Wukong. Teleport comes in from Cube, just to make sure that the rest of his team can escape. Top Esports end up going a little bit too far.
And maybe it is that Milio ulti, just a breath of life breathed back into WE here. It's a 1 for nothing, but it's the first advantage that it feels like they found almost this entire series. And one that doesn't come at any cost either, I think, is the important part here. Another breakdown for this one. Tien just goes a little bit too far forward. Thinks he's got the support of his mid lane. In fairness, Cream gets in there, but just not quite able to do enough damage. Great space being bought by that front line, by Monkey in particular. So getting the work done here in this one.
Well played by About as well. Just able to flash away from a couple of those big spells, including the Encore from Feng Yue, to make sure he gets out with his life. And hey, now he is the one, Rude, with a gold advantage in the bottom lane. He's got an Infinity Edge second item, most likely working towards something along the lines of a Phantom Dancer third. The Lucian will be strong. Oh, Flicker Blades, that makes sense. This Lucian will be powerful in the next few minutes. Will he be as powerful as the rest of TS, though? I don't know.
Oh yeah, and that's the real problem here. The Lucian's time in the sun usually is about elapsing at this point, as in, it's usually coming to an end, where if you aren't ahead at this stage, and palpably so, there's a problem afoot. And maybe we'll see that be envisioned here by WE as definitely going to be a problem if they can't get About into these fights and can't keep him safe as well. Obviously a pretty tall task for the Lucian to be able to carry versus what is a very difficult team for him to negotiate. He gets outranged by pretty much everybody except for the Wukong, and if the Wukong's on top of you, that is also a pretty big problem. Hopefully with Emilio in his back pocket, he can do something here, but this has been WE's bread and butter the entire playoffs.
Monkey faces the bush again! It feels like a story that we've told throughout all 3 games so far. Monkey, seemingly with knowledge of where the enemy is, just runs straight into them.
He keeps his Crescent Guard, again every cloud, but this is at a point where if your jungler dies, Top Esports will not hesitate to rip the Baron. If your jungler's alive, Top Esports will not hesitate to rip the Baron here. Blue Ward goes over, spots this out. Top Esports, this feels like the way they can throw.
Yeah, I don't think they're looking to finish. They're looking to force a fight, get a couple of summoner spells potentially out of the WE members. Cream providing so much space with this gold card, but he now has to flash away. Enchanted Crystallero, though, lands onto about. Nice knockback here with the Crescent Guard. Make sure that TN does not land the Encore. It goes on to Cube. In goes the Wukong, and the Cyclone will take him down. Into Monkey next. Cream with the Destiny Gate, able to clean up the fight and potentially clean up this series. It is a 4-0 for Top Esports as they will make their way back towards the Baron.
And with a 9k gold lead in tow as well. Top Esports have had WE's number this entire split, and the playoffs are no different here, Grapes. 3-0 looking very much on the cards. We'll take the inhibitor and we'll take the Baron. There are no responses from WE. As for Top Esports, this is just clinical to book their spot at MSI. A 3-level lead for Cream once again in the mid lane.
Looking much like what happened in the regular season, much like what happened in the playoffs one split ago as we take another look at this fight.
And about, again, doing what he can to try and get some damage down. The fact that actually he eats the Enchanted Crystal Arrow without getting Breath of Life through. You can see it's Fongyue who's trying to find that angle with the ulti. Immediately then Breath of Life used. But there's so much follow-up. There's so many flashes that just go forward. Top Esports say they've had enough. Find WE just that little bit too far forward, just to step over the line. And now trying to contest their own jungle. I don't know that that's a possibility either.
This series really has never looked competitive. It's been Top Esports dominating from Game 1 all the way up to Game 3. The gold lead's at 11,500. And with TN and Jackie Love returning to the fray, TES are looking to make it back to the international stage.
Dragon is live here, a bit of a formality for Top Esports with the Baron at their backs. They'll be able to just push in, take down this neutral, not particularly pose too many problems. As WE licking their wounds, trying to find some sort of gold and about. He's had to go for the rapid fire cannon. It's not optimal for the Lucian. You'd love the flicker blades to be dancing around, getting more spells off, but just with the way that the enemy composition functions, feels like that range is mandated in his build path. So he's opted for that. And now with Top Esports pushing in on 2 lanes, looking to break open the base, and they do so through mid.
Arha took 60% of his HP from one shock blast of Zwayon, and now WE are in desperation mode. They throw out the culling just to try to clear out some of the wave. Enchanted Crystallero will land, but the Breath of Life will keep Monkey alive. Top Esports currently sieging on 2 lanes, bottom lane the next to follow.
And now it's Encore. How well does that work? Especially with the Breath of Life down on cooldown. Fongyue not going to have flash for any fight that comes up, but if you can layer one over Tien, definitely going to have a good angle. Top Esports, they've broken mid, they've now broken bot lane, and that's the second inhibitor that's going to fall.
A retreat back for a little bit of health from WE will result in those 2 inhibs going down. Team WE have their backs against the wall and then some in this game, in this series. And it looks more likely than not a trip to the lower bracket to face the winner of AL and BLG is ahead of them.
The upper bracket run has been nothing but magic here for WE. Does look like it's going to come to an end though. And for Top Esports, an almost seamless transition to an MSI and to an upper final and to trying to claim another LPL title. Obviously still got the grand finals for them to sign, seal and deliver that one, but depending on who their opponent is, we might favour them, we might favour whoever makes that lower bracket run. Baron ends Top Esports 1,700 gold, which in the scheme of things, not that great, but the lead was so massive to begin with that there's not that much gold extra that they can gain.
Yeah, and about already chunked the half again. Not looking good. It's a 3rd inhibitor tower. It could be in trouble next. About throws out the culling to make sure that Monkey can escape, but he can only go back to his own fountain. So again, just repeat that process all over again. Gold lead has continued to grow. No more Baron buff, though, in the hands of top. Makes things a little bit easier for WE.
TN can just position on this flank, consistently look for an engage,
Karis.
and that's a gold card into Accelerated Shock Blast. Karis is out.
Now another gold card lands onto Cube as well. Third inhibitor tower of the game has gone down. Shock Blast again chunking out WE as they're being suffocated underneath their own base. The third inhibitor will go down. There's super minions already pushing mid and bot. This could just be the final push, Rude.
It's clinical, it's brutal, and the enemy of Magic being science. They've been in the lab here to cook this one up.
Knock up onto TN, but he's not going to be taken down nearly enough. Jackie Love now unlocked with the Rangers focus. Encore comes out, it connects onto 3, and the rookie Feng Yue brought the cookies, and TN's about to deliver the milk. Already he goes down though, but out underneath his own fountain, going to still be taken down. The Nexus is now exposed. WE's run has been special, but today even they must submit to the top dogs of the LPL. TES back to Grand Finals, TES to MSI.
And in a 3-0 fashion, Top Esports will continue their undefeated streak up against WE. Split 2 has been a tumultuous one for Top Esports, with a great start, with then a brutal midsection, and now a playoffs run that is, giving everybody something to think about here. One game dropped on their way to the grand finals. What is this team capable of here? We haven't seen them up against a BLG in playoffs, up against an AL yet in playoffs, but they've earned their spot here. They've put themselves now to MSI, and the question becomes how much further in this tournament can they go? Can they go back and lift that trophy? Can Jackie Love's first split back after that break be one where he claims a title?
Would be special, and would be a rematch potentially of these grand finals that Top Esports played against Team BLG or AL in 2025. It was Split 1, and then it was Split 3 for BLG. Could be another repeat, or we could see this matchup again if WE are able to go down and rebound in the lower bracket. Clearly though, Rude, something changed in this series compared to the last two that we saw this WE team play.
And I think maybe Monkey just... that was the real linchpin for WE throughout the wins in the series that they played, was Monkey getting things going early on. The fact that that hasn't happened in this series, a pretty big indicator for the failures of WE. A 3-0, a pretty quick job done here by Top Esports, and they'll be happy with that. This is maybe what they expected. I don't know if they were expecting this to be a difficult one based on how they saw BLG and AL falter, but Top Esports have never struggled versus WE in this split. They haven't really struggled against them this year. And they continue just on their road. WE swept aside nice and easily.
Yeah, and the clock struck midnight on that Cinderella run, but the good thing for WE, they can go home, the Fairy Godmother can come back, and maybe the lower bracket has something in store for them again. They'll be playing up against a team that they've already beaten. That's something that they can say. But I think, as we mentioned before we got into this game, BLG and AL certainly do not want to have, that result that perhaps shocked the world earlier in this playoff bracket happen again in the lower finals.
No, they don't. And I think that there's an opportunity for it to happen, don't get me wrong, but expectation off of this series is that WE have got to do some very serious righting of some ships, and then try to find a way back. Back to that former glory, back to that team that took down BLG, that took down AL. Let's see where that team actually can come from, because at the minute we just haven't been there. We haven't seen it, and it's not been good enough ultimately. So I think the hope is, the goal is for WE, get that back online. For Top Esports, it's come prepared, come ready for whoever you're playing up against. You're guaranteed some tape on your opponents. So let's make it work, let's be prepared for it, and let's see if we can find an immediate return to success.
Yeah, perhaps the game plan, though, has been figured out by teams playing against WE. If you target Monkey, make him a bit more obsolete in the mid to late game, it's a very tough situation to overcome. And for Top Esports, representing the LPL once again on the international stage, going to feel great for somebody like Tien, who has not played internationally since 2024 when he was on TES. Probably feels even better, though, for Zoyan and Fengyue, who'll be making their debuts on that stage in just a couple of weeks in Daejeon. But there's still more work for them to do here, Rude. If you talk to TES, they probably aren't just happy about going to MSI. They want to win this split.
Yeah, and I think that the LPL title, definitely something that these teams are going to be, and that Top Esports obviously interested in. It's looking at now how easy is that for them to establish. Can they put JackeyLove immediately back to a winning marksman? As he's the one here with the most damage in our post-game stats for this game. But I think for me, Cream on this Twisted Fate, just everywhere. The reason About was so difficult, it was so difficult for About to come out on top was because of Cream. The kill participation, all of our stats here are going to point to Cream being a team player and somebody who I think hasn't been recognised through this series. You know, game number 1 absolutely was TN. Game number 3, Cream here, most kill participation outside of, in fairness, Fengyue, who also had a very stellar performance on that Seraphine.
Yeah, number of multi-man encores set up for the rest of the team fights to go Top Esports' way. Would not be surprised though to see Cream winning this player of the game, as he has continued a really nice playoff run for himself. You can argue about the strength of his opponents, a lot of them younger, more unproven players like Tang Yuan and Karis. Hongq maybe you can throw into that mix as well. But that's just proof of Cream growing into his own, making another grand finals here with TES, and becoming a true star for this team.
And making a bit of a statement as a mid laner himself. I think for me, he was my second All-Pro vote as a mid laner. I think that's where he ended in the split rankings as well for the majority of people. Obviously, Knight, the golden left hand, going to be somebody that we're not expecting to be taken down off that top spot just yet. But for Cream, the first couple of years of his play for Top Esports, there were a lot of criticisms, from myself included, about his ability, about whether this was the right fit for Top Esports. It felt like Top Esports could take them as far as Cream would let them. But for shortcomings in their organisation, shortcomings as a player, he doesn't feel like he's keeping the team down anymore. And in this game in particular, I think he was the one that elevated them to a next height.
Yeah, another nice ulti from Fengyue here. If you get a look at some of the replays, it was really Top Esports dominated all a day long, Rude. We came in expecting perhaps a competitive one, just because of what WE's level of play had looked like recently. But Top Esports just have been at an entirely different level. Again, as you said, much like they were at the start of this regular season, with Tian once again joining the fray. They are 9-1 in their last 10 games and are just now 3 wins away from winning another LPL title.
Well, it won't be for, you know, a good couple of days now. They've got a nice week to reset, to rest up, get some tape down, get some practice in. Maybe start to look at what it is that they do so well that they can punish the enemies with. And I think that Tian, a standout for the series, really solid performance on this Wukong. I think Fengyue, really solid performance throughout that Nautilus in game number 2, number 1 even. A really solid setup for him. And JackeyLove relatively consistent throughout. A slightly ropey Ezreal game for game number 1, but outside of that, really excellent performance on both the Yunara and the Ashe here in this one.
JackeyLove coming back from his break. You know, we talked about throughout the season some of the issues that he was dealing with his personal health. Felt comfortable enough to come back. I mean, this guy JackeyLove, so willing and so motivated to return to the competitive space. He's not even taking the flights with the rest of his team. He's taking trains because the tinnitus in his ears won't let him fly at this point. And he's still so driven to do that for his team, to try to get Top Esports back onto the main stage.
And I mean, he's taken them to the finals. He's obviously got some very good carries by his side helping him out. Not to say that it's a JackeyLove story with nobody else doing their work. But he's pulling his weight, and I think that's what's really important. I think the first series that they played was up against IG, right, where he was playing up against his replacement, where Jachi had come in, and then now they booted Jachi in favour of JackeyLove, and Jachi kind of smoked him in the first series. But since then, it's kind of been that growth, that development. He and Fengyue have had a massive start-up with one another, and actually work out really well. It's good to see these veteran AD carries actually able to bolster those rookies. It's a combo that is always good fun to keep an eye on, and for Fengyue here, this is again, the first year of what could prove to be a very promising career. At the very least, it's a promising split number 2.
Yeah, the best part about this top esports roster to me is the veterans that are combined with the rookies on this team. Zoyan and Feng Yue having great times as well, and potentially getting their first LPL domestic title. Let's take a look at our updated playoff bracket now that we are just 3 series away from the conclusion of the split. Down in the lower bracket, we'll have our semifinals between BLG and Anyone's Legends. That will be tomorrow here on LPL English. And then we gotta wait a few days as the teams will travel over to, I believe it's Wuhan, for the grand finals weekend. It'll be WE playing against the winner of that loser semis. The winner of that series, of course, will play Top Esports for a shot at the LPL title.
I mean, it's now all eyes on that lower bracket. We've got Top Esports waiting up at the top. As you mentioned, sort of the weird formidable beast in the middle of WE here, but AL, BLG going to have an absolute intense performance to play against one another to return AL to MSI, to either do that or to take BLG back once again. A lot of impact in that following series, all for that grudge matchup against WE as well.
Should be a fun conclusion to what already has been an incredible playoff bracket here on LPL English. That's going to do it, though, for our coverage here today. Root a pleasure, as always. Shout out to Shivam on production and our entire broadcasting crew on LPL English. Before we go, though, we want to give a big thank you to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron Soup and Mung, as their pledged financial contributions have leveled up our broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every day. Make sure to once again tune in tomorrow, same time, same place, 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central European time for Anyone's Legend taking on BLG. On behalf of Rudude, my name has been Grapes. Thank you so much for tuning in to LPL. Final score here, Top Esports with a 3-0 over WE to secure a spot in the grand finals. We'll see you all tomorrow for our lower semis.